Salute, and welcome. Welcome back to the Black Ocean Announcement. We're going deep in with your host, the one and only Great Black Shark. And yes, I've had to pull out this illustration yet again. I already know some of you are probably going to be cracking up when you see it. We have to talk yet again, ladies and gentlemen, about the disgruntled children of the chalk. Oh, yes, we got to talk about them. Because there's one children of the chalk, or child of the chalk, rather, that is pretty disgruntled, and you've seen his face in the thumbnail of this broadcast. Because tonight we're going to be talking about the common denominator ideology. Now, what ideology is that? Well, if you stick around tonight, you're going to see what ideology that is, okay? Because it is a shared ideology between both the political left and the political right. This is why in New Black Media Spaces, we tell those of you who are on code, and we try to warn those of you that have yet to come into specific knowledge, that being loyal to one particular party over the other, you're going down the wrong path. You should be loyal to Black empowerment, because a political party is not going to show you your best interest at heart unless you demand that's what it's going to be when you're dealing with them, okay? If you don't demand that it's going to be empowerment or nothing with them, then the only thing that you're going to do is be a mascot for the political left or the political right, okay? It's always very sad, but you have to get lessons from these types of things when you see those in our community that are loyal to one party or the other. They bicker back and forth with each other, mostly trying to spout the talking points of their white masters that they're looking to impress. And in the end, as the elder and living grandmaster teacher Neely Fuller Jr. has taught us, once white supremacy is done with its tools, it breaks them, okay? Each and every time, all right? So, ladies and gentlemen, now that you know what just the broadcast is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and give my disclaimer here. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and give my disclaimer here. This broadcast tonight, it's going to hit some nerves. I'm going to go ahead and tell you the nerves that it's probably going to hit, because there's going to be certain points that I'm going to emphasize something that most people do not have the courage to say. So I'm just going to tell you, if you're one of the Bucks of Beddington or the Winches of Craftington, you're going to forever not want to come back to this channel. I'm just going to tell you that right now, because I said it before and I'm going to say it again. When it comes to educating my people and making sure that you all have accurate information, whether you choose to take in the information on this channel or not, that's up to you. It's my job to present it. And those that have sense, they will take it and use it and apply it. Those that have yet to be learned, well, life is a teacher, and you will learn the lesson one of two ways, the easy way or the hard way. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me greet my esteemed guests that'll be joining us over here today. Let me scroll up. I see y'all laughing at this illustration. Look, we have to get the proper images in your head, okay? The imagery is important over here, okay? So we have to make sure that the proper imagery is on the screen. Let me scroll up. I see my good brother Chief X Ali in the house. I see Patricia Slade in the building. I see Sidonian Snow. I see Project Leroy, my good brother, in here. I see Mickey Brooks. I see Chichi Bananya. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kevin Blackwell, what's going on? I see Derek Parker in the building. Creative World Films in here. The trucker out there on the road, my good brother Diesel Mike. I see DBCU 530 in the house. Salute to each and every one of you that are over here, and anyone that'll be joining us later on in the broadcast. So before we get started, I want to make sure that everybody gives me a thumbs up. Let me know if you can hear your brother loud and clear. If there's any issues, let us know now, because I want to get that corrected before we get underway. So can everybody hear me crystal clear? Is there any problem? Give me a thumbs up if I'm coming through loud and clear, because we want to make sure that the Bucks of Beddington, the Winches of Craftington, and the white supremacists that shall be over here, because believe it or not, no matter how big or small your channel is, they're always trying to see, what are the blacks doing? Well, you gonna see what the blacks are doing tonight. Because, see, you're going to be very mad, just like this toast up here with this mayonnaise, this children of the chalk symbol. And ladies and gentlemen, now that I see your thumbs up in the chat room, that's right, GBS is taking a break. This is me. This is 3-2 Tony talking to you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you're going to need to do. You might want to go ahead and screenshot that child of the chalk. In fact, I shall take my banner down, and I'll give you a few seconds, because you might want to present this to some of the white supremacists when they get to arguing. And instead of going back and forth with them, what you might want to do is just drop this child of the chalk meme here. Just drop it and checkmate and say nothing else. And watch the rage that they fly into and grab your popcorn and enjoy the laughter. That's what you need to do. Oh, man, listen. That's what I be trying to tell, and particularly our sisters before we get started here. Bless your hearts, ladies. A lot of y'all are very passionate. Why I see some sisters they're going back and forth with them white supremacists online. And y'all know that I rarely ever do it unless I can use them to teach people something. That's the only way you see me going back and forth with a coon or white supremacist. For the most part, they're just amusement to me because let me give the sisters some game. Brothers, you should know this, but let me give the sisters some game. You don't go back and forth with something that is your intellectual inferior. You understand me? And if you say that, oh, he reaching, and the white people, why are you saying that? They start talking about IQs. Listen, let me tell you something. The biggest IQ test in the world, and I don't ever want my young black people listening to forget this before we get started tonight. The biggest IQ test in the world is true history, okay? True history. You start looking at places like Jamestown, Virginia, the starving time, okay? To name a few. Jamestown, Virginia, like I said, and there's plenty of other incidents in history that show you that these high IQ people are the furthest thing from that, okay? So that's something I want you all to take heart with. So we're going to go ahead and get started with what we're about to review here tonight, and I'm going to break several things down, and I'm going to point some things out that I hope I'm able to make a difference with this in real time with audience that I have here and whoever listens to this on the playback, because there's some things that are already out there in the ether, but there's some things that need to be specifically addressed, and we're going to take the time to do that over here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That said, we're going to go ahead and get started breaking this down.
If I achieve just one thing in life, what should it be? Now, it tells you a lot about modern America that that's even a question. No person, certainly no man, in the previous, say, 15,000 years would have asked, what should I achieve in life? There's really only one objective in life, and that's reproduction. Pass on your genes so you don't become extinct. They're called, in our culture anyway, children. And then one hopes they mate and have grandchildren. And that makes you the patriarch of a clan and gives meaning to your life. So in other words, you could spend your entire life working for Deutsche Bank, which is obviously pointless and destructive of the social order, and you probably wouldn't feel good about that. But if you had a bunch of kids, you would still win because you're passing on your genes. You're fulfilling your core destiny, which is to reproduce.
Now, let me pause this right here and salute to my good brother, Project Leroy, for the Cash App. Let me pause this right here. We're going to get started with this. We're going to be surgical with this thing here tonight because I know this has been floating around. A lot of you have seen it. Other people probably done content on it. But I'm going to drill real deep down into what he's saying here. Pay close attention to the words that he was using, okay? How he's talking about passing on your genes so that you have children and you can be the patriarch of a clan. And how going on forward, as he was talking, pay close attention to how he was talking about survival and, okay, having the kids and everything. See, you need to understand something. Just having kids doesn't mean that you're actually winning as far as like procreation and starting a family. Any moron or any animal can have kids. What matters is how well trained are those kids? Did you give them the proper wisdom and knowledge and resources to make their journey forward in life easier, to give them something to start out on? You understand? See, just having a bunch of kids, anybody can do that, okay? What you need is to have wholesome, healthy, well-educated families as far as we're concerned, okay? Now, from their point of view, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I know not all of them have white supremacist sentiments, but far too many do, to the point that with common sense, I would have to say most. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. Their own scientists know this. Their situation is bad. It's bad. It is. They can put up all the fronts they want. And I'm going to tell you how you know their situation, particularly what I'm speaking about. Let me be specific with their reproduction numbers and their declining population globally, not just here. The more that they try to make their problems your problems, that's how you know it's really getting bad for them. See, you have to really think about how white supremacists operate, okay? When something's hitting them the hardest, in order not only to psychologically comfort themselves, But to try to use you to help fix their problem, they'll tell you, oh, this affects everybody. And then, particularly with Black society, this is where I tell all you need to go and get the book, How to Lie with Statistics. So when they start talking about per capita this, per capita that, and they try to act like people don't know what per capita means, we know what it means. I also know what it means to manipulate numbers and use that as a gaslight tactic. Focus more so on whole numbers, okay? For example, during the pandemic, no matter how they try to slice it, more of them died than anybody else here due to some of their nasty habits. But get that book, How to Lie with Statistics, read it very thoroughly, okay? So now, when it comes to their situation with the reproduction, they're worried about that. I'm going to prove it yet again here tonight because I'm going to thread several needles between the political left and the political right before we're done here tonight, okay? So now, in their eyes, where they're looking at it is, if we can't get you to think that our biggest problems are your biggest problems so that we can use you to help us out, then what they'll start doing is becoming hostile. See, study history. Anytime that they've ever felt threatened or had to go through some hardship in this country, the first people that they target is Black folks. So when you hear rhetoric like this, it would be fine if that he was just talking about how to solve his people's problems. But see, in this country, to go to show you how incompetent they are, they think that we're the cause of most of their problems. That's how white supremacists think. And if you're not a white supremacist white person, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the people in the element in your community that you clearly see. And some of you who are not white supremacists, you fear this element because you know that if you're not on code white supremacy and you speak out against it, and heaven help you, you try to help a Black person, you know there will be consequences for you as well. Okay, so some of you know the truth of what I'm speaking. I know they listen to me as well. Trust me, just because they ain't typing in the chat don't mean they're not listening. They always listen. Okay, so his problem here, where he's going on about, children, this and that, I want you to pay attention closely to the words he's using, the tone he's using, and why he's saying these certain things. We're going to get deeper into it as we progress here. Let's get back to it.
Put it another way. Next time you read about someone who's got like 27 arrests and he's been arrested for some horrible crime, and he's a complete ne'er-do-well, if not menace to society. George Floyd, for example. Find out how many kids that person has. So you're reading the paper or some website and you're judging this guy. He's never had a job. He's got 27 drug arrests and he finally shot someone. Damn those Soros prosecutors. And I agree with you 100%. But push a little more deeply into his background, and I'd be willing to bet my late model car that he's got more kids than you. So who's really ahead? You or George Floyd? You or the guy with 27 drug arrests? The guy with 27 drug arrests, if he's got more kids than you, he wins. Because in the end, that's how we tally the race.
Now, we got to drill down into this segment that he was talking about here. Now, he brought up George Floyd. Yes, we know how despicable that is. That man is dead. He was murdered by a race soldier, Derek Chauvin, who needs to rot under a prison for the rest of his life. Okay? But you need to understand something about this white supremacist mindset. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. Forewarned is forearmed. I'm saying this to make sure that you understand completely the mindset of a white supremacist, because you're looking at one on the screen. Now, if you called him that to his face, he do the thing that, the Bible said the devil's greatest trick was convincing mankind that he doesn't exist. You study white supremacy, and then you will see why we call them devils, okay? He would tell you, I'm not a white supremacist by far. He would laugh and everything. You look, if you ever met Tucker Carlson, you would be like, oh, he's quite cordial. You would probably be pushed to second guess yourself if you were not well learned, as most of us over here. But I take it most of my chat room would not fall for that, okay? So now let me go ahead and break this down. I have to be clear and blunt about this. I say this yet again. All of our people as a collective this applies to, but particularly the women, because the women are the gateways to life for our society. So now the reason that he's bringing up George Floyd, you need to catch the dog whistles. Basically, he's using George Floyd as a proxy for the niggas. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and cut the bull. We're going to cut through all of this dog whistle talking points. And he's basically saying, listen, no matter how many of them die or are killed, if they have more children than us, what do I always tell you that the children represent to any lineage, okay? Any race of people. Y'all say it with me. The children are the future. Do you understand me? Okay? See, it scares them to death that this country one day is not going to be majority white, okay? Numbers are rapidly declining. You start to look at a lot of their little segregated enclaves. And I'm going to name some. Look, this is going to really piss them off when they hear this, because I've been to all of these places. You get up towards some of the richest places like Greenwich, Connecticut, and you start to look around and you start to see most of the population is elderly, and then the young people that are, around, if they're trying to move to other places or what have you, or they're just not having kids. You probably heard the acronym DINK, okay? Double income, no kids. That's what a lot of them are saying. Now, some of them will have you believe is because they're trying to think about economics, but their own scientists and geneticists and biology majors and what have you will tell you that this fertility problem is an issue. They're struggling, okay? They're struggling. So what we have to understand is when they're put in a desperate position, they always become violent. They don't seek to peacefully work things out. They don't exercise these high IQs they have and say, okay, we need our best and brightest to help focus on solving whatever the issues are in our community. No. They lash out at those whom they call, I just got to be blunt, the so-called Negro problem, okay? Yeah, I know it sounds archaic, but you better look at how they've been moving here. And if you think that I'm reaching tonight, just wait. Y'all know how I do it over here. I'm going to prove my point on that tonight. I'm going to prove it very thoroughly. Don't be surprised they age restrict this. And there may be problems with the stream. Just go ahead and get ready, because everything I'm going to show you is not going to break any rules. But when certain messages are not filled with cooning and it's designed to make you think, especially when it comes to waking black people up so you're not a sitting duck out here as far as knowing what you're dealing with, just expect them to do their job. But we're going to do our job over here as well tonight, okay? So I'm going to let him continue. And as this goes along further, I'm going to point out some mistakes that some people that are going to critique him are making, okay? Let's get back to it.
By reproduction. So get to it. Have some pups.
None of the writers went with him from Fox. Is that what's going on here? So he's just blabbering on. I know I tend to go off, okay, and this bunch of different directions, but I can't even begin to unpack the racist, probably misogynistic, replacement theory-ish, all kinds of nonsense. This knuckle.
Let me pause her right here. Let me pause her right here, and I need to point out something that I'm going to caution you in specific terms. All of you should know not to do this, but I like to, from time to time, go ahead and say the quiet part out loud, because it's assumed that you wouldn't do this. I'm saying this to every black person gathered over here in my chat room, and every black person is going to be listening to this on the playback, especially you sisters. When something deals with racism and white supremacy, don't try to conflate other things into it. Misogyny, this, that, the third. No, that's nothing he said had anything to do with misogyny. See, words have meaning, okay? Words have meaning. Misogyny, basic definition, there are several, would be something that's antagonistic or vitriolic towards women. That's not what Tucker Carlson was describing. He was talking about the fear that they have of their dwindling numbers, okay? See, a part of message discipline is making sure that you don't conflate things that don't have anything to do with one another into the same equation, okay? All of you need to be very careful about people that attempt to do that, because the main ones that'll try it are these intersectionality-minded people. Now, I don't know if this sister is like that, but that what she just did right there, that's a no-no. You don't do that. When you focus on solving a problem, you do not go lean to the left or the right and add other things in. You stay focused on center mass, okay? You stay focused on the main issue. See, the importance of that is if you let one or two people come into a movement where you're trying to empower yourselves and solve problems in Black America, come in and start trying to water it down by putting, oh, yes, misogyny, oh, it's homophobia and all this other stuff. Notice what happens to our movements when that happens, okay? It dilutes the main issue and it disperses the focus off of what the main objective would be. This is the tactic that they become very well at doing. So she means well, but that was a mistake on her part, okay? She's right about the replacement theory part, because, boy, that's in their heads. Look, white folks, you did that to yourself. I'm going to say it clearly. When you decide to segregate yourself off into your little enclaves and then you started, getting into incest, knowing you already have recessive genes, you doomed yourself. You don't look, they don't like talking about their dirty little secrets. One of these days, I'm gonna pull that documentary up to show you. We need to go through that documentary, the Whitaker family. Some of y'all probably seen that whole thing. I'm gonna see if I can break that down on here, because see, you already recessive gene, you segregate yourself, get your incest going. Pandemic hit you, nobody saw that coming. That knocked a dents in your numbers. Then you got your opioid crisis, all right? And then you don't want to punish your own and stop the crisis, and you just let them shoot up. Instead, you actually talking about passing out cans of Narcan to save them with their overdoses. See, this is what happens when you claim you have a high IQ and you don't recognize the gravity of your situation, but you think that, okay, the answer is just focus on the niggers. Hey, we're not doing none of that to you. That's all you're doing, okay? So I'm just getting that part out of the way for the white supremacists. But keep in mind what I said about conflating issues. We do not do that. If we're focused on racism and white supremacy, that's all that needs to be. We're all black, no matter what your sexual orientation is. They're not hunting you down because you're gay or none of that other crap. They're not hunting you down just because you're a woman or XYZ or three-eyed, one-horned, purple people. That's not what they're doing. They're focused on you because you are black. And those of you that keep trying to conflate issues with that, you're going to learn the hard way out here. Let's get back to it.
Head of spewing. A fool. Tucker Carlson. Ravana, where would you like to start?
Let's, I'll just make a quick note that he looks like he's coming to us live from the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks with that curtain behind him. I don't know.
Let me point something else out to you, family, okay? Now, I am not trying to pick on the sister, but I'm pointing out to you what a tactical mistake is when it comes to dealing with racism and white supremacy. First of all, if we're discussing how to deal with this or critiquing it or whatever, when you're talking to another white person and they do what she just did, yeah, I'm going to go here because my people need to know how to deal with this. When you're talking about racism and white supremacy, and a white person is talking about it with you and they start trying to make jokes about it, that's no joking matter. That has taken our people's lives. This is the greatest threat to our people besides being off code within our people, okay? Two greatest threats, white supremacy, off code black people, okay? Then you can throw economics in there, economic deprivation, but you get my point. This is how you know this is someone that's trying to trivialize the issue, because see, one of the things that you'll notice amongst most white people, when something is white supremacy, they'll say racism. See, they don't have a problem with saying racism anymore, but you call it white supremacy, that puts it in clear and uncertain terms what you are dealing with, okay? So I want you to study her demeanor as she discusses this, and I'm saying this mostly for my young people, because a lot of you, listen, they may think they mean well, but see, if you're not calling it for what it is, you're not helping us. And look, there's a reason why she ain't gonna go hard in the paint. Think about it. What white person do you know? Because you may know some. You may know a small handful. There are some. But what white person do you know on any mainstream media platform or independent media platform that just go hard in the paint and call it white supremacy down the middle, start naming names and just start talking about things? I mean, there's a handful. You see some here on TikTok, here or there. But on these media platforms, oh, no. They just pretty much try to, skate by and then, lightly touch on something. They rarely ever say that, okay? I want you to pay attention to her demeanor while she's talking about this. Just wanted to point that tactical mistake out. Do not let them try to trivialize it or be joking about it, because it's not a joking manner for our people. Let's continue.
Production value in his show. I mean, the name, Tucker on X, no one thought that one through. Not a single person was
have
like
the team he had before.
Right, right. But it is, and you're exactly right, rooted in his racist.
Oh, I got to pause this. I'm glad you brought that up, my good brother Torian Rain. And salute to my first sergeant, some chick named Star. Everybody else is joining us, still Killer Trees. I see you, CRU Reality. I'm glad you brought that up. See, brother Torian Rain, you right about that. If you can't, look, I call it the Jim Brown standard, okay? If they're not trying to be an ally on that level, are they really serious? Now, let's be realistic, okay? If you're not willing to do what John Brown did, okay, you can be an economic John Brown. There's your ally. And what do I always tell y'all about allies? Thank you so much for bringing up his name, Brother Turan, because I probably would have forgot to mention that. What I always tell y'all about the white allies, the true allies that would be white folks or white adjacent, they're not trying to stand right up under you. No, they know if they are in a privileged position just because of their color of skin in this country, and if they're in certain positions or communities, political positions, whatever the case may be, they can get more accomplished helping you by not being close to you. See, when they're always up under you, oh, that's easy. They know. Look, other white people know, okay, yeah, you over there with the niggas. We know to limit your access to us. We're not going to let you in certain rooms with certain things. We're not going to sit around you. But a white ally knows, okay, look, the best way I can help these black people, I don't need to be close to you. I'll just send you information and I'll fund whatever you got going on. That's the best way to help. You need to be in your community working. What I always tell you, we need you on these juries advocating for our people. We need you in these hospitals, making sure that our people are treated safe. We need you in these schools, making sure black children are treated fairly, okay? Working with us, okay? Not doing the work for us, but working with us. Let us know who the white supremacists are in your community. See, all of this that I just named, you don't have to be right up under black people to do that. And see, I guarantee you, if I was talking to this lady right here and started asking questions like that, I wouldn't curse her out or call out her name. I would just go down the list. I'd be like, ma'am, do you check off any of the boxes that I just named? well, and there would be your answer right there. See, I don't let them come around me with the phony stuff. So that was an excellent standard and a litmus test. That name, John Brown, if they don't have that mindset, at least on the economic level, can you really call them a white ally? So we're going to get back to it. I want y'all to pay attention to how she's talking about this whole thing here and how the sisters are reacting. Let's get back to it.
Xenophobic white replacement theory, the idea that there is this ongoing white genocide, and he's saying that this is a black man who had more kids than you, a white person, so he is winning, and he's trying to invoke fear. And maybe we're lucky that he doesn't have that same production team. He can't put his messages eloquently, and more subtly as he previously could on primetime TV, most watched cable news show, broadcasting to millions of people. Now his show's being seen by, people, thousands of people on Twitter,
Now, see, this is where I have to go in on this lady at, because maybe she thinks she means well. Maybe she thinks she's sounding intelligent. She's not. She's not. And I'm going to tell you why she's not sounding intelligent. White people do not view mainstream media the same as a lot of our people do. I want y'all to hear me on this. Most of y'all already know where I'm going. They do not view mainstream media the same way I do, or our people do. See, think about this. I want to make this point stick. When you hear them talking about black people, they're always referencing a, air quotes, black leader. Who's the black leader? Black leader. You notice that you never hear the equivalent term when it comes to anybody in white society. There is no who's the white leader. You ever notice that? See, look, these are subtle things I'm pointing out, but I want to make you think over here tonight. Why do you never hear them saying, where's the white leader? They don't call Donald Trump a white leader. They don't call Joe Biden a white leader. Do they now? Huh? See, I want you to think about that. There's a reason for that. So when it comes to her talking about trying to trivialize the fact that, okay, well, he's just on X now talking to thousands. Sister, you know better than that. She knows better than that. The sister should know better than that. She should have checked her, but or then again, maybe she doesn't. Let me not say that. Let me not assume that sister knows better, because she did. She would have corrected her. She would have told her, listen, that message is for the white grapevine, so to speak. Yes, there's a white grapevine. They don't need to sit in front of a TV and get their messages. Oh no, they have codes amongst one another. Those dog whistle turns, it got to the people that it was supposed to get to. And he don't need millions, because those few thousands, they live that every day. Tucker Carlson is just saying what they're all thinking. You understand? So this whole thing as if like, okay, it's Tucker Carlson that's making them the way they are. Oh, no, Tucker's just the guy with the mouthpiece. They all think like that. Understand? They all think like that. And she knows better than that too. Because, see, this is that whole, I'm going to, try to say things to be, considered an ally to the black people. No, look, I guarantee you what would be the main test for her, because I would love to see what her reaction would be. Oh, okay. You for helping black people? Because let's remember, even white people can be pro-black. But can white people be black first? Now, there's where your issue coming in at, because in order to be black first, you have to put our people above yours. And most people are not capable of doing that. And I wouldn't expect you to. But I would answer the one question, ma'am, are you for reparations? What do you think about reparations for Foundation of Black American Freedmen? What do you think about us having an anti-black hate crime bill? And if you ever got a chance to ask somebody like that question, don't say anything next. You be quiet and listen to what comes out of their mouth. And boy, let me tell you, we have done it many times in new black media spaces. We brought up those particular litmus tests, and boy, they were seen like the greatest ally ever until you start talking that. You start talking about tangible, they're like, wait a minute now. And then before you know it, you keep pressing on the white supremacists jump right on. I don't want you niggers to get nothing. Now, okay, hey, that's what I'm talking about. Appreciate your honesty. You know, see, sometimes you have to know how to lure a snake out of the grass here. And that's how I see them all until they prove otherwise. It is what it is. They can think what they want to think, because I don't have no time to be playing games with these people, and I don't want you to play games with them and get caught off guard. But she's going to ramble on about how, Tucker Carlson, he doesn't have the audience of Fox News anymore. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. That's his people, the greater majority of them. That's their mentality, okay? So I'm going to let her continue on. I want y'all to hear how this sister's going to respond to her.
The core audience of his show can't figure out how to work that app to watch it. So, at least we've got that. But it is concerning, and without that clever writing, we just see him coming out and saying it. And without fear, being that racist openly. It is disturbing that. And
notice she just said racist. She didn't say being a white supremacist. See, most of them are never going to say that. That racist. No, ma'am. That's white supremacy that he's talking about. Look, the only way you couldn't have said it was white supremacy rhetoric rather coming out of his mouth, is if he would have left George Floyd out. Because now if they're just discussing the issues about their population numbers and having children, there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, they're supposed to be trying to figure out that issue. When you threw George Floyd in there, that's when I knew, okay, yep, you dog whistling about my people. You use George Floyd as a proxy for all black folks. And see, that's something young black people have to learn, how when they're talking about one of us, whether it's George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, that's a proxy for all black people. You better never forget that as long as you live. Let's get back to it.
So many of the Fox News hosts, of course, share his racist opinions. But it is disturbing to think about how many people were able to get that message and how Fox News protected his ability to distribute that message for so long. And let's be honest, they didn't stop his show because they stopped agreeing with his ideology. It just became a financial liability for them at some point. And yeah, I mean, it's disturbing, it's gross, but I at least have to take some solace in the fact that it's not being as widely broadcast as it previously was.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, the sister didn't really give up much pushback on that, but see, let me show you something what they really don't like to see, okay? This is the part of the broadcast where the wenches of Crafton and Bucks of Bennington are not going to like what I have to say, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. Oh, I got to go here with roller skates on. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Family, let me tell you something. You see what's on the screen here. First black bachelorette, Rachel Lindsay's husband files for divorce and asks for spousal support. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it with a bit of compassion, actually. You ladies out here that are jumping up, talking about you going to go get you a zaddy, or no, what you say, expand your options. You better understand that when zaddy gets with you, he's not getting with you mostly because he cares about you. There's a small percentage. Now, I'm going to speak with fairness on this. There's a small percentage of white guys out there that probably just love black women. Probably. Okay? Small percentage. That's not the majority, though. That's not. Because, see, when zaddy goes to get with you, he's got other plans. A lot of them are so goofy about it, they can't understand it. Okay, yeah, if you got something for him to gain, he's coming in the door with the exit strategy already figured out. You know why? I got to go here because this is for black men too, but we're going to start with this. You can't give him little Emily and Connor with blonde hair, okay? You can't do that. So if he gets with you, I guarantee you came to the gate and say, you know what, I'm going to get with her. I'm going to kick it for a minute. And then I'm gonna see what the laws are in my state, and when I get ready to leave, I'm finna pat them pockets. Y'all hadn't studied how Zaddy, when he get with you, his exit strategy involved patting your pockets before you go. Holly Berry, anybody? Aisha Tyler, I could go on and on. Come on now. I don't want, look, I get it. You done had a hard time with a lot of goofy brothers out here, but you better, before you hop over to the other side, you better start looking at, okay, is it you choosing certain types of men that leads to that result? Huh? That's the hard part for a lot of sisters that are in their position to have to do before they go hop over the fence. You got to look at, okay, what are you choosing? What is it about you that draws a bunch of dudes that you have to say, oh, these black men ain't shit? No. Because see, a lot of them, what they'll do, they'll deliberately go after the homosexual class, the broken beta males, because you know that, okay, he needs to be dependent upon you. I'm going to say it right now, and I don't give a damn who get mad. Ladies, unless that man is like handicapped or mentally disabled, any able-bodied black man that needs to use you as a dependent and you get a kick out of that because it puts you in a power position, okay, you gonna be one of the main one talking about, oh, these black men ain't shit. No, what you choosing ain't shit. What you choosing ain't shit. See, Zaddy is strategic. He not playing games with you out here. These people are thinking about their survival, and you will just be another tool for them to survive, okay? If you're that foolish. Now, in case y'all like, oh, he just talking about the women. Oh, no. Because I'm bringing this up for a reason. We got to go here. Oh, yes, I am. I got to do it because this is the perfect example. Yes, I have to do it. For you bucks of Bennington. And I'm not going to particularly address this to Alfonso Ribeiro, but I'm using him to illustrate a point. You heard what Tucker Carlson was talking about, right? You heard what his people are talking about. You will not replace us, this whole replacement theory, because we're going to get deep off in the woods with that. This right here is what they despise. You understand me? I'm just going to say it flat out. For me personally, I could never do this because I would want all my children to look like me, just like most white people want their children to look like them. So now you need to understand how Tucker Carlson would look at a woman that would go procreate with him. She's looked at as a traitor to their race. You understand me? I got to call it how they see it. Okay. They won't just, some of them won't just say it flat out to your face, but she knows she can't ever go back. Okay. And as far as him, like I said, man, for me, man, you look at this, you wouldn't really know them his kids unless he told you. Don't none of them look like him. Now, I know there's reasons behind a lot of men doing that, but look, man, if you was, you got some type of issues about being teased, about being a darker skinned person, or you got some kind of hang-ups about how black people treated you as a child, I'm telling you, running over there to the other side, that's not the answer. Now, listen, maybe his family, maybe they got the perfect family, but I'm letting you know that in this system of racism and white supremacy, this is frowned upon by their people. They do not like this. You understand me? They do not like this at all. And I mean, for me, fellas, y'all back me up on this. Y'all probably gonna say I'm pretty harsh on this, but I gotta speak truth if I'm gonna talk about it. I want you to look at his boys in particular. Now, for men, you know that if we have sons and you look at your little boy in the face, you see your future, you see yourself, your future legacy. Don't you want your son to look like you, man? Huh? Don't you want him to look like you down to the core? You know what I mean? Do you see that in his sons? Huh? Yeah, I'm going up with it. Look, I'm not going to say nothing bad about him and his family. I'm illustrating the point that when a Tucker Carlson sees this, their antennas go up. And see, I got to go here with it. I'm going to tell you another reason why I wouldn't do this with this particular woman here, DeBecky. Because when you have these children, and let's get this out the way. Yes, we know on paper, even though they don't look like it, these children would be classified as black. On paper, and yes, we know white society would treat them as black children. We got that part. But are they really black children? No, they're not. They are biracial by genetics. That's science and biology. Yes, there is a such thing as biracial kids. Not socially on paper here, but genetically, yes, you are half your parents, you have one parent's genetic code, and you have the other parent's genetic code. Okay? So now the reason why Tucker Carlson would take this personally, they look at it like, okay, you can sneak these little Negro genes over here. You better go look up who Charlotte of Mecklenburg was over in England, okay? She was the biracial queen of England, and they hated that because like they were like, okay, if we can get you up out of here, we can't never have another little half-breed negress back over here in Buckingham Palace, okay? You understand? See, they really treat these biracial kids bad. You think I'm lying about that? Look at Doja Cat. Oh, I'm going there. Yes, I am. Black South African father, white mother. Why you think she's so batshit crazy? See, she ain't gonna never admit it, but she's steady chasing white supremacist acceptance because she's never gonna get it. Even though she could pass for white in certain lighting, they know she's not. They're like, oh, no, you over there, okay? So again, like I said, people can't help how they're born. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I love our brothers and sisters. You can't help what your parentage is. So I don't want anybody to hear this and think, oh man, he got a problem with biracial folks. No, I don't. I love y'all just like I love anybody as long as you're on code and you don't have a hatred for our people, okay? Because see, unfortunately, it's the story of a lot of biracial people where that white side of your family, you know, they don't want nothing to do with you and they mistreat you, okay? And case in point, look how crazy Brittany Renner is. Do I need to look? Look at Herschel Walker's little old tutti frutti son, okay? And look, no disrespect to the LGBTQ community, but you see the problems that caused. He's got two things going on with him. Okay, you biracial. That white side of his family don't fool with you like that. You hate your dad because in your mind, you're like, damn, I was almost white if it wouldn't have been for your black ass. And then now you confused and you don't know where you're coming or going, okay? So I mean, it's just, look. And again, let me say this because I'm going to be very careful with my words. You can't help who your parents are. You can't help how you were born. But white supremacist society, they like this element too because, see, what they also view the Becky that'll go over here and procreate with a black man, they'll be like, okay, you used to us in black and white society. You never can come back over here. Your womb is tainted. That's how they look at it, the white supremacists. But what they will do is say, hi, well, you can cause confusion. Go on over there and procreate with them. You can't come back over here, but you can cause confusion by, you know, making them kids and see, hopefully this is what they like to do. Especially if it's a white supremacist male that has children with a black female, okay? But either way, because you got to watch that mother too, because remember, go read the book, They Were Her Property. 40% of white women own slaves, okay, back then, and the first teachers of children are the women. So now, hopefully, that white parent will try to raise up a Doja Cat and teach them to hate black people. And I'm going to go here yet with it another thing. I'm telling you, I'm finna lose subscribers on this. I'm finna piss y'all off. Barack Obama. Oh, did I say his name? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did. Barack Obama is white supremacist adjacent. Yes, he is. Because he was raised in a white family. How do you think they talked about black people around him? Why do you think he was so indifferent towards doing anything for us? Look how he talks about black people. Huh? During the 2020 uprising, instead of chastising the cause of the problem, you chastised the young brothers and sisters out there that was putting in work in the streets, Barack Obama. You a snake. Even if you want to look at his roots on the continent, because his father was Kenyan and his mother was a white woman, okay, deceased, he has no connection or empathy for them because we saw how he stabbed Gaddafi in the back. And I'm not saying Gaddafi was a saint, but he was far from the devil they tried to make him out to be. And look at the region of Libya ever since that happened. Destabilized thanks to him. Then he ushered in more of the, rainbow community laws than any other president. See, they'll use the biracials after they've been indoctrinated to push through the policies that they'll say, okay, it's too controversial for one of us white people to do it. Use this little Negro over here. Same thing with some coons, okay, but they can really use the Barack Obamas. And you see, a lot of us couldn't see that because we're like, okay, a lot of people, not me, because I was looking at it like, I had my skepticism about him, but the greater majority of people, some of you probably in this chat room, not going to hold it against you, but like, okay, this could be the first black president. He's going to get him in there. He's going to do stuff for us. No. All 8 years proved that he did everything against us. Blue alert laws, the 1033 program that militarized the police. I mean, look, I could go on and on about what he didn't do and the things that he did to hurt us. Okay. Making it harder to get home loans for people and everything. I mean, instead of penalizing the banks during that subprime mortgage crash, he went after the people. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, look, we'd be all right talking about Big Ed Barry. I despise that son of a bitch. I absolutely do. I can't stand Barack Obama. But my point is, they will use his type after they indoctrinate him as weapons against our people. I'll take it historically even further back in case anybody thinks I'm reaching. I want you to look up the name Tipu Tib, okay? Tipu Tib. That was an East African, half East African, okay? His mother was African and his father was Arab. He was one of the biggest slave traders over there in the eastern portion of Africa. He hated his mother's people, okay? And, you know, like I'm saying, I'm showing you how this type of confusion, when you go procreating with our enemies, they use it against us, okay? So black men and black women need to understand that. And as we get to the next portion of this, I'm going to say it yet again so people won't confuse my words. If you're a biracial brother or sister, yes, you classified as black over here. I love you just as much as anybody. You can't help how you came into the world. But what I'm speaking about are certain realities, okay? And so if you on code with the rest of us, hey, I don't see you no different than the rest of us. So I'm going to say this to underscore my point, because I learned from Grandmaster teachers. I want you to look up the speech by Dr. John Henry Clark called The Role of the Bastard in World History. I want you to look that speech up. I played it before on this channel, but I'm giving you a bit of homework to do, and I want you to listen to that speech from front to back. And you'll see why Dr. Clark said what he said. He wasn't saying it in a cruel way. He was talking about it from historical standpoints and facts, okay? So that's why I had to bring those two pictures up to show you that the Tucker Carlsons, they hate this, man. They are worried about this. Look, there's only one thing that they fear more than what they see up here, because, see, they fear these children because they're like, okay, your little half-breed children will come over here and procreate with our children, and then you're going to sneak your little Negro genes over here. That's what they hate, right? I'm going to tell you the other thing that they fear, though, family, and this is something that I first salute to Daryl Bledsoe for the cash out. Thank you very much for that, my brother. But this is something that I try to promote, and if you all have that in the chat room, I'm sending blessings to those of you that have it. The only thing that the Tucker Carlsons fear more than what you see on the screen are complete black families. God bless you and your family if you have that, okay? I'm gonna tell you what Tucker said. We need to be having the babies in stable families, okay? Not just popping out kids, okay? So that y'all don't get happy and go out here, man, and turn it to a future. Or Nick Cannon, we don't, Lord, bless all their children, but we don't need that. We need stable households where we can raise these children to be productive members of our society and to go on for black empowerment for our sake, because we're all we got, literally, okay? As cliche as that sound, we're all we got, okay? So that's the only thing that the Tucker Carlson feels more than this right here, okay? So I just wanted to be clear and why I'm showing those two images. So we're going to take this down and we're going to get further into what their people think, okay? Because, see, it's one thing for me to tell you what they think. It's another when you hear it from them. So I want y'all to prepare to take notes on this. And we got to remind you of something that Jim Crow Joe said, because we are in 2024. And as I've said before, and many members of New Black Media, young and old, have said, we got some very important decisions to make, family. We got some very important decisions to make. This year here is going to determine a great deal for Black America. And it's up to us to choose which direction we're going in, okay? So all of us are going to do our part to put the information before you and put it in its proper context, and then you can do with it what you will from there. I'm going to remind you of this, and it's going to be very germane to exactly what we're going through today. I'll let this play.
If we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
Now, I know you like, GBS, you keep playing that. You keep playing it. Yes, I do. I keep playing it because I want you to remember what Uncle Joe, as some of these fools called him, I want you to remember what Uncle Joe said and what his primary concern was. And see, those bootlegs, they didn't think that was going to leak out. And see, let me tell those of you something that are in these different positions. This is what you need to do to help out your people and get these things to us in Black media. We won't disclose your identity. I get stuff all the time from anonymous sources, and I do not disclose who they are. that send me certain information, y'all be like, where did you get that from? Especially if over my Patreon, I'm going to bring you that information and make sure that you have a chance to look at it and you decide whether it's something that you think is useful to you or not. Okay. That's the job of us over here in New Black Media. Okay. But they didn't think that was going to leak out. And you seen all them silly black people just sitting up there. You also boss. They ain't check him. They didn't say nothing. They're like, what you mean this country is doomed, not just because of African Americans? But see, that's a rhetorical question on my part, because I've showed you why he said this country is doomed. You understand? You heard it from Tucker Carlson's mouth. I showed you the illustrations of those two situations there, and I already broke down why. But we about to get deeper into it because, see, I understand that some of you listening here, even if you're an older person, especially if you're a younger black person, I know a lot of you just don't understand what these white people's or white supremacists problem with us is. Well, the best way to do that is to let their own talk about it. So we're going to get into some of that replacement theory talk. And I want you to pay attention to this. We'll be stopping and breaking it down as need be. Let's get back to it.
Mr. Beat here. I'm white. Seriously, my skin color is white. Well, technically like peach, but I belong to a human group that can trace their ancestry to Europe with mostly lighter skin color. And I probably didn't have to tell you that because you can see me right now, unless you're blind. Anyway, I bring this up because you may come across some xenophobic messaging when you're doing your thing on the old internet. You all remember what xenophobia is, right?
Go back to Ireland, you dumb mitt! You remember that, you frog Irish? Get back in the boot, Patty!
It's the fear of people from other countries. Now, even though this messaging is xenophobic, it's sneaky. In fact, it's terribly good at manipulating us. Despite being full of crap, and despite it probably going against everything you value and believe. I even fell for it. And I'm supposed to be smart. By the way, I'm not that smart. I just pretend to be smart on YouTube. But anyway, a few years ago, I noticed a bunch of folks who identify as white started bringing up something called the Great Replacement. Put simply, the Great Replacement theory says that too much immigration of non-white folks to countries that are mostly made up of white folks is bad. Not only that, those who promote the Great Replacement theory argue that welcoming immigration policies for non-whites are part of a plot meant to either weaken or replace the political power and culture of white people living in Western countries.
Now, before I let him continue, in case anybody doesn't understand why they're so concerned about that, remember what I told you, and this isn't my opinion, this is scientific fact. They are recessive gene, okay? They are recessive gene. That means that they can only get white children from each other, even when they procreate with other less dominant genes like the Asians, okay, and East Indians, the Arabs, etc., etc. Those genes will not trump the features of those people, okay? I mean, the closest you could come, and I'm going to use him as an example. If you looked at the actor Keanu Reeves, you would think that he's a regular white man. No, he's half Asian. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think his mother is Asian and his father is white, okay? But with white folks, they know that that's a gamble, so they don't really want that. They want just white children. Okay, and look, I don't have a problem with that. Like I said earlier, I want all my kids to look like me. They should want all their children to look like them. But their problem is they say, okay, if you let all these other people over here, hey, you know, what's going to happen to us? And white folks, that's your problem because, see, you run this nation and you got Jim Crow Joe up here with this flood the border policy, okay? So this is what we tell you about. It's on the political left and the political right. I've showed you Tucker Carlson. I showed you Jim Crow Joe talking about these same things. They're worried about their numbers, but they disagree on how to keep white supremacy going, okay? See, Jim Crow Joe, the reason why he's letting them in here, they're thinking, okay, if we get enough of them in here and we can procreate with these non-white people and they can kind of pass for white. The political right is like, nah, we not feeling that, man. And look, don't be fooled. There are some Republicans that are okay with that because they want to exploit the cheap labor. You see how their greed and their foolishness, it contradicts their so-called high IQ. Look, I don't feel sorry for them because I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to quote the great Sun Tzu in this, okay? Where there is confusion, there's opportunity. You understand? I'm going to repeat it again. Where there's confusion, there's opportunity. while they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off, confused about what to do, we need to take that opportunity to observe that, take it for what it is, and make sure we're on code and get ourselves together as black people, okay? Especially in this year right here going forward. This is a critical year. I can't state that enough times. So I'm going to let him get back to it. He's going to go into breaking down this so-called replacement theory. And y'all, a lot of y'all about to see who the author of this replacement theory is, okay? He's going to get deep into that. Let's get back to it.
When I say Western countries, it's not just Europe I'm talking about. I'm also talking about the Americas, Australia, and New Zealand. By the way, you might want to check out my video about Western values when you get a chance. Huh? Simply put, the Great Replacement is the alleged replacement of whites by non-whites. It often overlaps with a larger theory called the white genocide conspiracy theory, which revolves around the beliefs that powerful people are trying to prevent whites from having kids. Often the conspiracy is blamed on, you guessed it, Jewish people. This theory is manipulative because it equates normal patterns of immigration with murder. It's trying to put a big equals sign between the new Salvadoran or Syrian who lives down the street and a mental image of a concentration camp. Now, obviously, if they literally did that, then you and I wouldn't fall for the messaging. Therefore, the messengers have to be a little bit more subtle about it. And lately, they've gotten pretty good at manipulating us. Here's the thing though, not only are those who preach about the Great Replacement theory manipulating us, but as it turns out, the entire theory is bullcrap. It's literally not backed by evidence at all. There is no secret plot to get rid of white folks, but let's just say that there was. Well, they must be doing a pretty poor job, eh? Since there are more white folks now than ever before. You might be thinking, well, duh, Mr. Beat, but whites represent a smaller percentage of the proportion of the world. Well, who counts as white isn't based on genetics or even demographics. It's based on politics. In the United States, for example, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, and Polish Americans weren't considered white until the early 1900s. Greek Americans weren't white until just a few decades ago. Some Arab Americans used to be considered white, but by the end of the 1900s were no longer considered white. Even though race isn't a biological reality, it has still been a way for people in power to divide us up over the
Okay, let's tackle this right here. Oh, I'm going to stop it in its tracks right here because, see, I hear a lot of people that don't really drill down on this, and I'm going to make it make perfect sense, okay? He said, and he was correct about in America, the way whiteness is determined is more of a political thing because, let's be clear, they let these other groups that are technically non-white, the Asians, East Indians, Arab, okay, etc., come over here so that they can fluff up the census numbers to get more economic funding in areas to inflate and pad their numbers, all right? That's why they do that here. That's one reason why they do it. Now, here's where he got this wrong, and this is where a lot of people get confused. Race is a social construct. Oh, really? If it's not a biological or genetic determining factor, watch this, and this is how you're all going to see why I show you certain things on my broadcast in a particular order. Think back to the picture of Alfonso Ribeiro and his children that I showed you. Okay. If race isn't a genetic thing, if it's not biological, if it's a social construct, like everybody likes to believe, because I know some people in the chat room probably think that that's the case. Watch where I'm finna burst that bubble at. Why is it that Alfonso Ribeiro's children wouldn't be considered white? Come on now. See, I'm going to make this stick, and we got to deal with this in 2024 because I've let this go on a little too long. If race was just a social construct and it wasn't genetic, okay, which it actually is, then why is it that white people can't procreate with other people and get children that look exactly like them? Oh, that's because it is biological and genetic. You can't argue with science, man. And they know that. That's why they don't really look. I'm gonna go deeper with it because y'all be like, GPS, it's a social construct. Okay. What happened with Meghan Markle's situation when her and Harry had them kids? What happened? Talk to me about that. What happened when she went over there? How did they treat her? See, if race was a social construct and it wasn't genetic or biological, then why didn't they just accept her in as another white woman? Come on now. See, sometimes a lot of our people get caught up in repeating certain things they hear other people hear or say without actually applying any cognitive thought to it to say, wait a minute, what sense does that make? Of course, race is genetic and biological. It's the reason why that you don't get certain things unless you procreate with a certain group of people, particularly white folks. There is no other group on the planet that they're going to procreate with outside of themselves that they'll get each other. And they know that, okay? And see, you have to be careful about what you see on the screen here, race, a way for people in power to divide us up. First of all, let's deal with that. The people in power are white, okay? Let's be clear about that. It's a way for people to divide us up. Okay, let's go with that. You guys the one that decided to start calling people black and white over here. You did do that, okay? That's historically documented. So don't ever let them get away with this vague terminology where they just say people in power. No, which people are those, okay? Let's be specific about our terminology here. Words have meaning. They're very important in the context of discussing any given thing, especially for us as black people, okay? We cannot afford to be strategically and accurately correct on the things that we discuss. We can't. We don't have that luxury like other groups, okay, or the white adjacent groups that they've politically allowed to be white. But yes, we got to get that crap out the way. Yes, race is genetic, because if it wasn't, they would just accept anybody's kids that they would procreate as white folks. And they don't do that over here, okay? So we're going to let them further go along with that. I just want to take the time to go ahead and hammer that down and get it out the way, man, okay? You have what one parent is, you have what the other parent is. It's science they're arguing with. You know, it ain't me they're arguing with science. Let's get back to it.
Years. Not only that, immigration is simply currently not high enough, nor will it likely ever be, to make it so that skin color, values, or culture will completely change in one country. Sure, there will be demographic changes, and there already has been, but there is no evidence that these recent demographic changes have dramatically changed the dominant culture and values of any one country. We often just see cultural assimilation. Oh, cultural assimilation is the process in which a minority culture gets absorbed into the dominant culture of a society. Not that that matters, as these immigrants already share American values. That's why they're coming here. And the different cultures they bring.
Woo, boy, he reached with that, didn't he? No, these immigrants don't share American values. No, and look, they're going to learn that the hard way, because, see, let me go ahead and address that point he just raised there. Oh, no, they don't. They're coming over here to get free stuff. They don't give a damn about this country. They hadn't shed one drop of blood for it. And if they did try to pull the strategy of letting them get their citizenship by letting them serve in the military, think about it. They fled from their homeland. You think they're going to be loyal to a country that they didn't have any equity in as far as building it up, especially not with their own blood, and they ran for their country? Able-bodied, strong men, okay, particularly the men. You think they're not going to run or turn tail on a battlefield? Or just go ahead and turn on us, okay? Because look, you got a lot of these Chinese folks coming over. I'm not going to back down off of saying that. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The Chinese are many things, but they are not stupid when it comes to warfare. You understand me? You got their little weather balloons flying over the country. You notice they didn't pull that crap when Donald Trump was in office, okay? I'm just stating facts. This isn't caping for nobody. We're talking about facts, not feelings. Then, okay, after that, they start sending Chinese nationals. Because look, let me tell you something about the CCP. You need to understand how they operate, right? Because I got to go here. You talking about all these immigrants got American values. You big dummy. You big dummy. I got to pull the Fred Sanford voice out on you, big dummy. Listen, man. The CCP, when they see an opening or weakness against any political enemy that they have, they say, hey, we got to capitalize on this right now. Especially now that they've got most of the manufacturing over there that help boost their economy to arguably the number 2, some say number 1 economy in the world. They enacted the copy the China plan, flood the zone with a lot of cheap stuff. I went over that time and time again. China operated by the theory, y'all heard Tupac say this, hey, when I get my money right, I'm going to war. That's where they're at. So they see that open border weakness. They're like, okay, hey, we're going to send some of our people on through there. Y'all better take a look at some of that footage, how some of them Chinese guys are coming through. Think about it. You come way from China to come over here, go through South America to come up. Do you not? Who you think funding that? Who you think got them all the way from China to South America to come? You better understand they coming over here with a purpose. I'm going to go somewhere else with it. Why they always focus on black people? Because we're the most loyal and patriotic people to this country. We ain't never committed no insurrection against this country, everything. We fought in every war this country ever had. Okay? Many of you have family members like I do have fought in most of these wars, all right? Listen, You got these Hamas operatives. Yes, I'm going there. You think they're not going to take the opportunity to exploit that? You know how they get down with it. Huh? See, this is why I say Joe Biden needs to be brought up on charges of treason. This is the stupidest president we have ever had. This is a dummy here. This man is going to destroy this damn country. And you got these fools around here, I'm riding with Biden, vote blue no matter who. Okay? Okay. A lot of us are saying it. If you run out here in numbers and you vote for this bastard again, we don't want to hear nothing. The only message you hear coming from us is like, hey, just look out for your particular family. Take care of yourself. Do what you got to do. Because I'm telling you, 4 more years of this foolishness here, the numbers that they're coming across this border in, man, this cannot be sustained. All the problems that it's already caused for just domestic crime. Wait till the terroristic acts start happening. That's coming. I'm not wishing it, but I see it. It's too big of an exploitable weakness. If I was a military commander in charge and I was against this nation, you think I wouldn't be trying to find a way to exploit that weakness at that border? You damn right I would. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. So I'm just giving you a bit of context why making that kind of foolish statement like you did. Oh, they already have American values. I'm like, how you know that, sir? You got to be out your damn mind. But anyway, let's let it continue.
Are almost always beneficial to American society. Also, most immigrants, and especially their children, assimilate peacefully into the existing culture, which, by the way, is constantly changing anyway, and has always been multicultural. This is no surprise to me, as I've had many students who were the kids of immigrants, but if I didn't know they were the kids of immigrants, I would have assumed that their family had been in this country for many generations. So then it just comes down to skin color, and if you're really concerned that skin colors of all humans in your society might change, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why? Skin pigmentation is highly correlated with distance from the equator. That's right. The random lottery of how far you are from this line determines what color you get to be. The primary pigment in human skin is melanin, which is used to protect us from the sun. Just because your friend Jessica doesn't get sunburnt as often as you doesn't make her any less human. More than that, this distribution of colors has changed a lot over human history, and Europeans from even just 8,000 years ago looked dramatically different than they do today. Keep in mind that for the vast majority of human history, humans with lighter skin pigmentation have not existed. So who came up with the Great Replacement theory? Well, apparently this dude came up with a modern concept of the Great Replacement theory, René Camus, a French writer who at least popularized the term with a couple books, the first of which came out in 2010. Camus argued that white Europeans were being disproportionately replaced by immigrants from Africa and the Middle East, which could lead to the, quote, extinction of whites. Camus particularly was afraid of Muslim immigration, arguing they often had a much higher birth rate than whites, even though around 40%.
Now I got to pause it right here because it's very important that you pay attention to this guy René Camus he are talking about here, all right? See, they always keep score of numbers throughout history with everything they do. You understand? Everything, particularly when it comes to their population numbers, okay? So I want you to pay close attention to how he's about to break this guy's theory down, okay, that he came up with. And I want you to be familiar with that name because, see, when you're out and about and you start hearing certain conversations, you need to know who these people are that they're referencing, who they're talking about. Why? Because you might be somewhere where you need to vacate that area, especially if it's not many of us around. You understand? Yeah, I mean, I try to arm you with proper knowledge over here that you can actually use out here in the real world, but I'm gonna let him get back into this, right? I want y'all to prepare to take notes on this. It's gonna be very interesting.
Of Muslims identify as, you know, white, but I digress. It's not surprising that white supremacists were attracted to Camus' Great Replacement theory, but incredibly it became fairly mainstream by the time I first encountered it in this 2017 video by, oh, what was her name? Warren Northern? Yeah, I think that was it. Well, the video has since been taken down, but still, back in 2017, it did very well, and just Warren casually bringing up the theory like it ain't no thing was surprising. It was proof that Camus...
the person that he was talking about, see, this is another thing why I point out earlier in the broadcast, why when they start talking about white supremacy, they start playing and joking. That's not something to joke about, especially when you're trying to disseminate accurate information. He was talking about Laura Southern, okay, not Warren Northern. See, all that trying to, look, let me put it to you this way, why I don't play about that. And this is why I'm so serious over here on my broadcast when it comes to breaking this type of information down. Former combat veteran, okay? On a battlefield, you need accurate information. If somebody's giving you information about a situation on a battlefield, you don't want nobody playing about that. You want specific information. You don't play about something like that. Warren Northern, you know, trying to be cute. What you trying to be cute with a name for? Her name was Laura Southern, okay? If you don't know who that is, that's one of the UK's premier white supremacists. She runs around all over the place. That woman is very, very dangerous. Wherever she is, there are white supremacists in tow. You understand me? And I'm talking about the one, look, we're talking about the ones that are in like the hammer skins, okay? Shit, man, look, I could go on and on about the different groups that she's been associated with, okay? I mean, look, I need to go ahead and do an update on all those different types of white supremacist groups that are around the world, okay, that operate in and out of like America, okay? Because look, she's been connected to a lot of them. I think I'm going to take the time to do that and upgrade that. I already have a video like that on my channel here that I did years ago, but it might be time to bring that back to the forefront. But like I said, white supremacy started as a joke. So when they're talking about it, they don't need to be joking about it. So I just wanted to clear that up who he was talking about. Her name is Laura Southern. Look her up. Let's get back to it.
Had given white supremacists a powerful argument to use, even if that argument was false. Since then, his followers have described immigration as an invasion, and they generally promote the idea that non-white immigrants, whatever that means, have dramatically different values than whites and are trying to erase white culture. Isn't it just another version of xenophobia? I mean, yeah. Basically. Yeah, before Camus popularized his Great Replacement theory going back more than 100 years before that in France, there was a nationalist, anti-non-white immigrant movement brewing there. In fact, in most of the Western world, going back to the 1800s, there have been similar movements, especially due to the increase of immigrants to the Western world from African and Asian countries. Because of this xenophobia, many people in Western countries called for nativism, or the policy of protecting native-born citizens over immigrants. Xenophobia hasn't always been about skin color. In the United States, for example, many nativists hated the Irish, Catholics, Jewish people. This is what led to groups like the Ku Klux Klan. Oh, goodness gracious. But the Great Replacement theory is different in that it has found widespread appeal on.
Now, let me pause it right here. Let me be clear. The Klan was formed with the primary target of black people. Yes, they didn't like other groups, but we were their primary focus, okay? We were their primary focus. Let's just make sure we get the language clear on that. Now, what you're looking at on your screen here, you see if you look at the left-hand corner, it's somewhat small with the frame that I haven't stopped on. You see the Chinese Exclusion Act, okay? Now, for those of us who are foundational Black American freedmen, who our ancestors fought for other groups to come over here, this is why I say I don't care if you're part of the Asian community, the East Indian, Arab community, whichever one of them, okay? If you come over here and you're a non-white person and you put white on your paperwork, you have been defeated. You have no criticism for us, because the one thing that foundational Black American freedmen are not trying to do, we're not trying to identify with our oppressors by identifying as them. Something you'll never be, something they'll never see you as. You think I'm wrong? You better play the beginning of this broadcast back. Vivek Ramaswamy, Ramen Noodles, we talking to you. Okay, Dinesh D'Souza, we talking to you too. Both of them put together darker than most of us, yet they think that they're little dark-skinned white men. They're not going to accept you, because that Great Replacement theory, that's their reality in their heads, okay? So for you to once be oppressed and mistreated by these people, then you assimilate into them and practice anti-Black racism, especially the despicable way, and I'm never going to forget this. I'm not going to forgive anybody that participated in the propaganda. How did the Asians get their Asian hate crime bill? They started claiming that Black people were just targeting them and attacking them. you know it was full of crap, because no matter what you stroke on a piece of paper, if somebody want to do you something, they're not going to stop because it's on paper. If that was the case, there would be no crime. Think about it. We got plenty of laws in the book that make all manner of crime illegal. Did crime stop? No. If people want to do something, they're going to do it. You would not have an issue. And I'm going here, Asian community. You put your businesses in black communities because white people aren't going to let you interfere in their economic capital. And then you come to those black neighborhoods and do business every day, but you got a problem with black folks. You that afraid? Think about it. Some things just don't make sense when you just break it down in simple thought process. You understand? So I'm not going to forgive them for going along with that, for the ones of them that did. And then you remember what they called themselves, trying to harm black people with this college thing, talking about affirmative action is how we most get in. Like, oh, there's no intelligent black people that can pass to get into those universities. What happened with that? It backfired on you. We tried to warn you, and then they go, oh, black people, you was right. Go back over there. We don't want to hear it, because now what that's going to do, that is strictly merit-based. Now, hey, they can just say, hey, we can just grandfather the students in, and hey, you know, look, that you shot yourselves in the foot. See, each time that these people that we've helped try to turn on us, they shoot themselves in the foot. It comes back to bite them in the end, okay? So I had to take the time to go ahead and bring that up while this was on the screen. You have nothing to say to foundational Black American freedmen if you are one of the groups that seek to assimilate into the people that seek to oppress you. You go look at the history of what the British did to the Chinese, okay? You go look at the history of what happened. Hey, let's just look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay? Yet, still, what did Hitler call them? Honorary Aryans, okay? We would see, look, when you know your history, you understand how to navigate the present, and you understand where the future is going. That's why history is never a trivial thing. History is never something you just say, oh, that was a long time ago. Let me tell you, young black people, something. Understanding and having a strong command of history will aid you greatly in the present. As this, I'm going to tell you something too. Knowing history is just like knowing yourself. When you understand who you are, you can't be confused by anybody, because you have perfect clarity on what your lineage is. You have perfect clarity on how society views you, and you have perfect clarity on who your enemies are, okay? So that's one of the main functions of history, combined in conjunction with knowing exactly who your family lineage is, okay? I just want to take the part to break that down. We'll get back to it.
Media-savvy white supremacists have been successful making it appealing to people who are, definitely not white supremacists. This might be because now they say Great Replacement instead of white genocide. Even a member of Congress, Steve King of Iowa, endorsed the theory. The scariest thing about this being so mainstream is that it has led to violence. A lot of it. In 2011, this guy from Norway wrote a 1,500-page manifesto explaining his fear of white ethnic replacement by migrants from the Middle East and North Africa. He then killed 77 in a terrorist attack. In 2018, this guy from Pennsylvania posted online that Jews were responsible for the Great Replacement and they needed to be killed. He then went on to kill 11 people in a synagogue in Pittsburgh. Some of those were Holocaust survivors. The next year, this guy from Texas also wrote a manifesto that said he was going to defend his country from a, quote, cultural and ethnic replacement brought on by an invasion of Hispanics. He then went on to kill 23 people at a Walmart in El Paso. And then, of course, the Buffalo shooting, which happened while we made this video, also was inspired by the Great Replacement theory. Now, obviously, not everyone who falls for these lies will commit a mass murder. But anyone, including me and you, can fall for Great Replacement theory messaging since they use manipulative tactics to make.
Now, let me stop him yet again, because see, he wasn't using those names for a reason, but we've covered all those situations over here in New Black Media Space, especially on this channel. Last one, of course, of Peyton Gendron. All you have to do is just look at the years to find out what the names were if you didn't know that. You know, I could say them, but I want y'all to get accustomed to how to use information and research to know the truth for yourselves, okay? Because it's no good that I just know it. I want you to be adept at knowing these things too, okay? So now, let's touch on a particular point that he's not going to mention. Remember when they first started, these white mass shooters started this, white mass murderers, let's go ahead and call them what they were, when they started, you know, being active in trying to in their minds, do something to correct history, the course of history for their people. Remember, at first they were putting out their manifestos, but remember, they stopped doing that. You know why they stopped doing that? They didn't stop doing that because they were worried about inspiring other white folks. No, the ideology is already out there. Not what they're worried about. But a lot of them were worried about. Many of us in New Black Media started showing you exactly what was in these manifestos and breaking them down so that you understand what you need to be looking out for so that you can defend yourself and protect your families and your communities. That's what they had a problem with. See, you need to understand something. In this country, and see, this is why I said earlier in the broadcast that sure, anybody can be pro-black, meaning being for black people, but everybody can't be black first, okay? Everybody can't. Even some in our own community can't that idolize them folks. And especially no white president. Look, I don't think I've ever met a black first white president. How? Because that would mean you would need to put black people above your own people, okay? But here's the thing you need to understand about those manifestos, right? Forewarned is forearmed, as many of us say. And you can't defend against something unless you understand the nature of the threat. Anytime that there's one, because look, if you've read any of them, look, I've got copies of some of them on my Patreon. You can go over there and disseminate that information for yourself and study it, what have you. But if you don't understand the nature of a threat, then you can't properly defend against it. And see, they invest a lot of money yearly in black people being in the 13th grade. What do I mean by that? Big overgrown children, okay? You look at all the ignorance that they promote towards us. Think about it. What's the last educational thing for black people that they promoted to us on the level of the sexy reds, the Suki Hanas, the blue faces, the reality TV foolishness? Every time you turn around, it's something where black people are ignorant and stupid. You don't see an equivalent of teaching black people how to grow their own food. You don't see an equivalent of showing young children how to speak different languages, be, an adept at mathematics. Think about what I'm saying, okay? They have a lot of money invested into making you ignorant. You know why? I'm going to get cruel with this for a minute, but I want my people to understand where I'm coming from with this. I'm going to take it back to the term and the terms of warfare again. If I'm going to war with a well-prepared enemy, okay, I've got a serious fight on my hands. I can't underestimate them. I've got to make sure that all my troops under my command are understanding their assignments. There can be no room for error because, hey, if they're as equally prepared for this as us, we got work to do. And precision means everything in combat, okay? Now, on the flip side, if I'm dealing with an incompetent, unprepared, ignorant, aloof force, okay, that I'm going to wage war against, you're easily conquered and wiped out. See, the average goofball, the hood rat, and the homosexual Pookie Ray Ray class, they believe in a 13th grade lifestyle. They don't look, you in trouble. And I'm not saying everybody has to be a rocket scientist or a historian or nothing like that, but you in trouble when you don't understand the basics of things regarding your history and your lineage. Whether it's history or present day. There are certain people, I know many of you in this chat room probably know, the only thing that they're well versed on is entertainment. They can tell you everything about Sexy Red's next album. They can tell you where a concert is going to be, or they can tell you about sports, or they know all of that. And look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with entertainment, certain kinds of entertainment in moderation. But what I'm saying is if the only thing that you are adept or have a deep, profound knowledge of is entertainment, then you have a 13th grade mentality. Think about it. Y'all probably know somebody that you can't hold any type of intellectual discourse with on local or geopolitical matters, okay? And see, these people, when it hits the fan, they're going to be sitting ducks. So keep in mind why the dominant society is invested in your ignorance. It makes you an easier target. Think about it. Look, if it was me targeting a group and that's what I wanted to do to win at all costs, I would do it. I'm going to be honest with you. It's evil. But if the only thing I care about, in the words of Richard Spencer, I don't care about fairness, I care about winning, of course I'm going to make you ignorant. To the point which is why it's terrifying and heartbreaking when I see these little babies singing these Sexy Red songs in schools where they're supposed to be learning. You better let that sink in. Take your job as a black parent very seriously because all your babies got, okay? I had to put in that context for you. We're going to get back to it.
False claims sound plausible, and if we're not careful and critical, we can be manipulated, and heck, we could even be radicalized by this stuff. For the rest of this video, we're going to look at how people fall for the Great Replacement theory and look at how you can avoid falling for it too. Those who tend to promote the Great Replacement theory often use the same talking points. They are all bullcrap, but persist anyway. Talking point number 1. Biology is destiny. It's manipulative because when we hear biology, we think, oh, it's science, so it has to be legit, right? This one says that culture is genetically determined and that genetic features predetermine cultural traits. For example, they might say that all of the problems in the African American community and in all of Africa are rooted in inferior genetics or culture. In other words, they say that black people inherently are less intelligent or more likely to be violent. It's bullcrap.
Oh, I love it when they try to purport that and project that onto us. See, again, this is where it comes into play of having a strong command of history, because let's deal with that. Let's deal with that straight up the middle. Okay, that's what we do over here on this channel. We challenge deception with the truth. And what I'm going to say, any of you can go down my archives or any other brother or sister New Black Media's archive that have done content on what I'm about to say. But I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. Okay, they say, because like he said, the white supremacists think this way, that black people, we just lower intelligent, that's genetically we're predisposed to violence and all of this. If that's the case, during the early days, when places like the continent of Africa was in its 25th dynasty before it even knew white people existed on the planet, why is it when they finally figured out how to sail and they came over to the continent, to places like Timbuktu, the students there were more intelligent than some of their so-called teachers from Europe? Over there, and history bears me witness on this, over there in Timbuktu, one of the earliest known, some say the first university, they had to be masters of no less than 10 subjects to be considered a teacher at Timbuktu, okay? These white folks came over there, they thought that they were impressing people with what they knew, and the students were smarter than them, and a lot of the students were picking on them about how stupid they were. I'm not mincing my words. This is the truth. Let's go further. Fast forward to the starving time, Jamestown, Virginia. Okay, you got these high IQs. You mean you can't figure out how to put seeds in the ground and grow food to keep you from cannibalizing each other? Oh, but we're predisposed to not being intelligent. Let's go on further back. Let's go on over to the great white motherland of Europe. Let's go over there. When the Moors came over there, and graced you with their presence, you were very smelly people. Yes, you were. Oh, yes. You thought that lice were pearls of God. You thought that not taking a bath and running around with funk that actually put letters in the air, you thought that that was pious. Can you imagine? You had your animals running around in your homes. These are the high IQ people that say we're genetically predisposed to not being intelligent, okay? You didn't even know how to eat a proper course meal until brothers like Ziri Abdamore taught you how to do that so that we better on your digestion. They finally got you accustomed to taking a bath, and see, they're regressing today because we've heard plenty of them say that they don't bathe with washcloths, they don't bathe their legs. Come on now, y'all have heard it. I'm showing you how to hit below the belt with the truth. Talking about that low IQ crap, but we the predisposed. And let's go to violence. Oh yeah, let's go there. You say that white supremacists say that we're predisposed genetically to violence. Well, here's what you say to that, family, because we like the truth over here. Truth is a sword and a shield. If we're genetically predisposed to violence, then why do you hold the world record for genocide? Here's a further question that you checkmate them on when they get to talking about how violent black people are, because none of us could catch up. No, all the black populations on this planet could not catch up to the violence that these people have done. Start with the British Empire and work your way on forward from there. Ask them this question. Name one place in history where your people have gone in peace and not caused famine, war, stole things from people, murdered, raped, or killed. Name one place. They cannot do it because that place does not exist. Australia was once an all-black continent. The British came down there and wiped that out. They were so cruel and demonic, they took the babies from the Arawak natives and buried them in the sand and played games kicking the heads off the babies. This thing is documented. I'm not making this up. We're genetically predisposed to violence? Really? Oh, really? Look up the true history of Christopher Columbus. Cutting the breasts off women where he went down in Isla Hispaniola and using them for pouches. He did so much devilment that they had to bring him back to England in chains. Don't get me started on those like Madame Lalaurie, over in Louisiana. But we're predisposed to violence, huh? Then you have people like Queen Isabella I that brag with her funky ass about only bathing 2 times in her life when she was born and on her wedding day. Oh, but we the ones with the low IQ. See, man, don't get me started on these people, man. Boy, it is, look, history and present day debunks the whole high IQ and we're predisposed to violence theory. No, it's you projecting that onto us. History backs up everything I just said. Don't take my word for it. I never want you to take my word for it. Go look up some of the things that I said. So I just had to go ahead and deal with that fact here. I'm going to let little buddy right here get back to it. Let's continue.
It's been disproven by decades of scholarly research. For example, many outcomes, from measures of intelligence to violence, are driven by socioeconomic status and income inequality. There is absolutely no evidence that biology is the driving factor. For example, African Americans perform similarly to other Americans when given access to the same opportunities. Talking point number 2.
Hold it. I can't let him get away with that. No, we don't just perform similar to other Americans or other people when we're given the same opportunities. We excel. See, this is why you need to understand who we are as a people, family. Not only when we're allowed a level playing field do we excel, and you can see this not just in sports, but in academia. We excel when we're not sabotaged. Think about this, right? And this further debunks that whole we have a low IQ thing, okay? Because we're going to round the table on that. If a people has such a low IQ, they can't get nothing right. We just so incompetent. We just so stupid. We just can't figure nothing out. We just a bunch of idiots running around. Why do you need a whole intact system of white supremacy to sabotage black businesses? Oh, did I go there? Yes, I did. Think about it now. If a people is so incompetent, they're harmless. You don't need systematic strategies to oppress them or deny them things. Hell, I'm going to take it even further. If we're so stupid and so incompetent, go ahead and pay reparations to everybody then. Why don't you do that? Because, hell, if we're that stupid, hell, we'll just give it back to you. Hell, we'll probably eat the money, just throw it on the ground and stuff like that. We don't have no sense, okay? Yeah, I'm being facetious with it. But see, I'm going to get serious for a minute because, see, one of the things when you hear white supremacists talking like this, you've heard many of us do this in new black media, okay? Like the Grandmaster teacher Neely Fuller Jr. taught us, when they get to talking about how stupid we are and we're such a problem, I always ask the question, what should be done with us then? Okay, let's just say you're right. What should be done with black people? Since we just so stupid, we don't know. Get them to say what should be done. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you can ever get them to say that, not my opinion, look at the William Shockleys, okay? You look at the Richard Spencers. You look at the Jared Taylors, when they come out their mouth with what should be done, their career goes down the toilet. You understand? And other white supremacists back away from them because that's the quiet part you're not supposed to say out loud. But I'll posit to you this. If you engage in them in the right type of conversation without ad hominem, not even upset, just discuss it with them. Even concede to the point like, okay, you know what? You're right. What should be done with us, though? We're just so stupid. We don't know how to do anything. Get them to say what should be done. Okay? Get them to say what should be done. So I just had to go in and correct that part right there, okay? Because we don't just do the same as everybody else here. We shine when we're left the hell alone and not sabotaged. So let it continue.
They are brave to speak the truth, and the normies are cowards. It's manipulative because it's fun to be in a secret club and have access to secret information. Basically, this one says that people with racist beliefs are actually countercultural truth tellers. They're not sheep who conform. Yeah, if conforming means not being racist, I think we ought to conform then. And for people who don't conform, they sure use the same talking points a lot. Talking point number 3, diversity is conflict. It's manipulative because the vast majority of us fear conflict. And this one says that diversity.
Okay, now see, this is where white supremacy proves to be incompetent and it eats itself like cancer, even on an intellectual level. You heard him say that this is what they believe, that diversity is conflict, right? Okay. Now, if everybody else, particularly black people, are just so predisposed to violence, and you the peaceful people with the high IQs, then you would know how to circumvent that with your high IQs and you're so peaceful, right? However, you contradict yourself because, again, they hold the world record for genocide. See, look, let me tell you something. Just go down the list. They have wiped out entire races and groups of people. The Tasmanians, they're all gone. You slaughtered most of the most of the black population in Ireland. That's where that running the snakes out of Ireland myth comes from. That was actually a tribe of smaller black people, okay, that they ran out of there. I think it was the Tweed people or something like that. I'll have to look that back up. But that's another one, okay? Then don't get me started on what they did to the black population in Argentina. But we're predisposed to violence. You can't find a group of black people on the planet that have committed that level of genocide anywhere. If anything, some tribes, okay, of melanated people harm each other, but not to the point of wiping each other out completely. You can't say that. Not even in the Rwanda and the conflict between the Hutus and Tutsis, they didn't completely wipe each other out. Either tribe. Both those tribes still exist today. Okay, as horrible as that situation was, and if you do your research on that, you'll see that Zaddy had a hand in stirring that up between the two of them and playing them against each other. You understand? See, oh boy, that's a whole nother broadcast for another day. Okay? So see, I could go around the world and show you where they wiped out people, but see, you know how they always want to claim credit for things? They don't want to claim credit for nothing I just stated. And see, no matter what they call me, because they probably gonna come running over here in the comments and say, you said this. I like, you can call me everything except for a liar. Your history from your own people proves it. Let's get back to it.
Diversity automatically causes conflict. It often relies on cherry-picking evidence and studies to back up its claim. It's bullcrap. There is plenty of research that actually shows that diversity enriches societies, even in the ways the haters claim to care about. For example, diverse groups of problem solvers often outperform groups of high performers on really tough problems. And that makes sense because tough problems need new perspectives. It's how we got automatic elevator doors, basketball, and the iPhone. That's right. That thing you're watching this video on right now wouldn't exist without diversity. Talking point number 4. Whites are being exploited. It's manipulative because people naturally don't want to be taken advantage of. This one says whites are victims of diversity and says that whites are being taken advantage of by non-whites and, quote, race traders, or whites that don't have these views. They argue that it's natural for humans to act in the interest of their own race, even at the expense of others outside of their group. It's bull.
Oh, yeah, I got to get ahead of him on that because he's going to go into it, but let's be clear. See, this is another sickness that they have, the white supremacist mindset. They think that the atrocities that they committed in history, this is the way they think. This is why they believe in manifest destiny and all that other foolishness. They think that, oh, well, if you were in our position, you would do it too. No, most people would not do that. You were the first people to go around doing that. Nobody else was doing what you did. Look, find any group of people on the planet that you can compare to the British Empire in its height. Going around, damn near conquered half the world. Huh? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk this history over here tonight. You find me a comparative empire that went around the world doing what the British Empire did with that type of brutality. Okay? So, no, everybody doesn't think like you. But see, this is what they do. They're out of fear. They project their barbaric behavior, okay, and their uncivilized mutt behavior onto other people. No, most people get along and live in peace until you show up. Look at the countries that they go to now. Come on now, let's talk present day. You look at everywhere France, all over there in the Western Sahel region of Africa. And that's why I salute the young brother Ibrahim Traore, 31-year-old, the youngest world leader as far as I'm aware of. I salute him, the president of Burkina Faso, and he's formed that military allegiance with Mali, Niger, and I think he's got a couple other countries trying to get on board. And I wish that brother all the success in the world because look, his people need that, man. I hope everybody else gets behind him. Like I said, that's a young man. He's not afraid of these bastards. He seems to understand how they operate, and he's doing what it takes to free his nation from the grip of the white supremacy as far as they're concerned. So they spent years over there, even to the point, and I've mentioned this before on my channel, where they were having most of those countries that they controlled in those Western Sahel region areas put money in the French banks, and they basically had to take out loans of their own money. Oh yeah, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. Go ahead and look it up. Everything I'm saying over here, you can look it up and verify for yourselves, okay? And then when you look at, it's going back to the Berlin Conference. Look what they were doing there, dividing up different places over there on the continent and everything, and then stirring up different tribal beasts over there. So, I mean, like I said, man, you can't name one place that they've ever gone in peace with people, okay? Look what the British did to the Chinese, okay? Fact of business, they did not give Hong Kong back to the Chinese until 1994. Did you know that, family? Also pay attention to another significance in 1994. You know, that's the year on paper that apartheid in South Africa ended, okay? See, this is why having a strong command of history puts things in the proper context when you hear these people talking like this. So no, like I said, we're going to make them take credit for their real accomplishments in history. Theft, genocide, and lying. That's what you're going to take credit for. Because everywhere you've gone, that's been a consistent triple trilogy wherever they've gone. Theft, deception, and murder and lying, okay? So let's let it continue.
Crap. Remember, powerful people created the whole idea of race in order to divide us and to justify their place at the top of social hierarchies. Also, how exactly are whites being exploited? This is manipulative because it points to a vague threat to make you feel scared, yet doesn't provide good evidence of specific exploitation of whites. And remember, humans cooperating and working together is what built, you know, all of human history. Talking point number 5. Things used to be so much better. It's manipulative because we generally all love nostalgia or an emotional connection to a period in the past. This one tries to inspire nostalgia for an imaginary past when things were better and tradition was respected. In particular, this talking point revolves around the myth that, quote, racial purity used to be a thing and that racial groups used to live separately, and because of that, things were better. It's bullcrap.
Let me go ahead and pause it right here and salute to the good brother 7 for the cash out. Thank you very much. Let me pause it right here and go ahead and break this on down. Okay, we're going to get straight to brass tacks on this. No, that's not the main reason that they have that nostalgia. They're looking at Jim Crow. Yeah, when white was right, okay? White was might back then. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want to go back to. And that's why, look, when you hear Make America Great Again, great for who? It wasn't always great for everybody. Look, 1776, why most of us with sense don't celebrate the 4th of July, our black asses wasn't free in 1776. Huh? It wasn't our Independence Day. Yeah, we got to keep, see, look, this is why I keep telling a lot of these tellers that come over here. And look, if you're not a part of the tether class, don't take offense because I do make distinctions over here. Most of us in the new black media make distinctions between the tethers. And I'll briefly break that down because, you know, everybody try to play that they don't know what a tether is. A tether is a person that comes over here trying to assimilate into our culture, but you're trying to undermine us at the same time, okay? Candace Owens, anybody? Yeah, I'm saying it, the Coonstress. But anyway, here's the deal. We keep trying to tell a lot of you that when you come over here, this country means different things to different groups of people. America does not mean to us what it does to white folks. We got different, look, our ancestors built this country off of slavery and fought in every war it's ever had. It means something different to us than it does to them. You know why? Because one thing I got to say about it, black people have never tried to launch an insurrection against this country. You know who have? White folks. January 6th, anybody? Oh, yes, I'm going there. Yeah. See, you fucked up with January 6th because you can't claim to be the most patriotic people in this country anymore. Oh, no. All the things you were going to launch a January 6th about, that should have been the last thing. You know, me and one of my cousins were talking about that earlier, but that's a whole nother broadcast for another day, okay? So we try to tell you till a lot of times you come over here, man, you lost in the sauce. You don't even know what the hell is going on in this country. And you talking about stay away from the Okata, okay? And you go running over into most of these white neighborhoods where you try to move into, you dummy, you put yourself behind enemy lines because they already looking at your black ass like, okay, they don't want your children mixing up with theirs, okay, and getting no ideas about procreating with them, and they really don't want to be next to you. In fact, the business, too many of you get where they are, they'll all lead up and lead. They're like, damn it, the niggers done found us, okay? So yeah, and you think about where you think the white supremacists live. They don't live in black communities. They got white supremacist collaborators that wear our skin, but the white supremacists do not live in our communities, okay? They control them from a distance, but they live in white communities. That's where they want to be, okay? So that's for you tellers, all right? This country has different significance and different meaning to different groups of people, okay? Primarily black folks and white folks, all right? And see, what he's describing here about them being nostalgic for that prior era, they want to go back to the time where, you know, you were walking on the street and you saw one and you weren't supposed to look them in the eye, okay? That's what they're talking about. They were the good old days. You know what I'm saying? So look, I'm going to have to put together a broadcast on a lot of that history and just really go deep into it and see if I can format it where I can present all of it on YouTube. Because see, a lot of y'all really don't understand, especially younger people. And I'm not saying that to disparage or pick on you, but I'm going to have to try to put that together so you can understand what a lot of your parents and grandparents went through, okay? Especially your grandparents, all right? And great-grandparents went through. Listen, man, like I said, when we talking about these reparations, yeah, I don't want to hear nobody talking about it was a long time ago. Nah, our Holocaust is still ongoing. But anyway, we're going to let them get back to it. Let's let it continue.
All modern humans originated from Africa. Different groups of humans have always interacted, and new ethnic groups have formed and evolved throughout human history. Talking point number 6. The Jews are to blame. Yeah, do I really have to explain this one? I made a whole video on the history of anti-Semitism, if you also want to check that one out. There are also things to watch out for, what I call Great Replacement Theory red flag.
Now let's go ahead and deal with it's the Jews that they always love to say, okay, that talking point. That's called tactical confusion. You understand? They try to isolate one group that's classified as white. They're white people. Nope, you let them be white, they're going to be white. We do not separate these white supremacists because of a religion, because see, whether they're Jewish or not, they all practice anti-black racism, okay? You can find Jewish white supremacists and anti-black racists just as well as non-Jewish white supremacists and anti-black racists. It's foolish to separate them by religious beliefs when they all share the common denominator of anti-black racism practicing against us historically, okay? So see, some people, they'll get caught up in there. Yo, man, it ain't us, it's the Jews. No, okay, well then, if that's the case, if you really did believe that, you would not be paying money. Oh, am I going there? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. In fact, the business, not only am I going to go there, I'm going to make sure you can go there with me, brothers and sisters. You know what I'm about to put in this chat. Y'all know what I'm about to do. Oh, yeah. I ain't going to do the Umar sniff this time, but I'm going to put this in the chat 3 times. I ain't going to do the Umar sniff. I'm going to put foreignassistance.gov in there because, see, before I make my next point here, I want you all to be able to verify what I'm saying. If you thought that Jews were the threat and the problem, would you be spending that much money or being okay with all that money going to the state of Israel? Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with them being here? Why haven't you? See, this, I'm showing you how to debunk that foolishness when they start there. It's the Jews. Okay, if you really thought it was Jewish people, why don't you have a movement to say, hey, we got to deport all of y'all. You a threat to this country. You see how they full of shit with that? And any black person that's stupid enough to fall for that, because we got some silly black people. Yeah, man, it is the Jews. Okay, answer them questions that I just asked. If you one of the people that believe that. No, they all playing for the same team. You don't see either one of them trying to do anything against the other to the point where you can say, okay, nah, this group is a threat right here. Because they're a small percentage of the population over here in America anyway, okay? So they're going to try to make you think that these people, and look, we get it. Yes, we know the industries that they're in. We know what they run. We know what's going on with that. But yet and still, they don't have the lion's share of power where they can call shots like they trying to make it out. You got to be twice the fool it take to be one to believe that. Do they do things? Yes, of course they do. Michael Rappaport spilled the beans and said the quiet part out loud. But are they the majority that's in control of running things? No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. Okay? I like to give you common sense over here. So I want you to study foreignassistance.gov because it will also show you the rest of where all our tax dollars are going in real time. So when they get to talking about, ooh, we ain't got it for reparations, I keep telling y'all, refer to that site, okay? Let it continue.
Those who tend to promote the Great Replacement theory also use shocking images to dehumanize non-whites. They bring up IQ a lot. They bring up Marx, as in Karl Marx, and they bring up cultural Marxism a lot. They bring up open borders a lot. They often refer to migration as an invasion. They tend to talk trash about diversity and multiculturalism. They tend to use certain rhetorical strategies to make radical views seem not so radical at all. Probably the most common rhetorical strategy is limited framing. Limited framing.
Now, let me give you a bit of homework, because a lot of you have seen me post a chart of this on my community tab and on X, if you follow me, X formerly known as Twitter. When he talks about making a radical or unacceptable idea commonplace or acceptable, if any of you have never heard this before for the first time, I want you to look this up for yourselves and study that. And the reason why I'm telling you to do that, so that you will be familiar with it and you can study the things that are going on in society today and see how it applies to today. I want you to look up a chart called the Overton's window, or the Overton's window method. The Overton's window, okay? It shows you how something can start off in public, okay, in social society as completely unthinkable, unacceptable, and by certain tactics and stages, it progresses to not only acceptable, but policy, or in other words, the law of the land. White supremacy regarding black people, a lot of that started with the Overton's window. Like I said, we always keep telling you over here, the Ku Klux Klan and Jim Crow, that started out as a joke, air quotes, and look what it led to, okay? White supremacy, you know, and the Ku Klux Klan, that became the largest and oldest domestic terrorist organization in America. And Jim Crow actually became a system that developed something called black codes to oppress black people. This is why we can't say enough that their terrorism starts out as a joke. And any fool sitting up kikiing and joking with them, you tethers, they're talking about you. You're just too dumb to realize it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, look that up, the Overton's window method. Let's get back to it.
Is usually applied in videos in which the host on screen will put boundaries on the discussion to make someone with crazy views seem more reasonable. Basically, they leave out the more controversial stuff and focus on the less controversial stuff they are saying, like that Warren Northern video I mentioned earlier. And to deflect a bit,
not Warren Northern, it's Laura Southern. Okay, see, I don't know why he keep playing games like that. Her name was Laura Southern. Look her up.
And to convince you that their opinions are not so crazy after all, they'll say things like, people are saying. If you get angry at their opinions, they might say, you mad bro, to attempt to make it seem like you're overreacting. Or weak. They present their information as if they are giving the uncomfortable truth that is a threat to the elites, or the establishment, or the New World Order, or the globalists, or even just they. They'll
Now, let me take a brief moment to point out how you deal with that goofy trolling that they do, because, look, this is why I love it when our good brother Tariq Nasheed does spaces on X, and you can see this. Well, they rarely ever try Brother Jason Black. They know he's going to drop the hammer down on them immediately. But the good thing about when they jump over in Brother Tariq's spaces and they start trying to do their little trolling, you hear them saying stuff like, you mad, bro, this, that, the third, and you see how calm he remains, because, see, this goes back to what I was saying. When you know yourself and you know have a firm command of history, you can be calm when you're dealing with them. Now, you can roast them and go back and forth with them if you choose to, but for the most part, you got to keep this in mind. You're talking to a desperate idiot, okay? Yes, a desperate idiot. Now, they're dangerous, desperate idiots, but they're desperate idiots nonetheless. So when you don't have answers to things, the best you can resort to is trolling. Now, why do they do that? It's a warfare tactic, actually, if you're stupid enough to fall for it. The whole trolling thing is designed to get you upset, and this is where I say, pay attention, brothers. This is where it's incumbent upon you to make sure that the women understand that this is what their tactic is, because you're not thinking clearly when you're upset and you're angry. Okay, you understand? All the little crap that they say they want, it's designed to get you angry and upset so you can go back and forth. Let me tell you something. If you can ever get somebody pissed off and upset like that, easy pickings. If you're calm and you've got a strategy, it's easy to deal with a person like that. See, this is their strategy when they come around trolling you online, this, that, and the third. And then the other thing that they want to do is to waste your time, okay? So unless you're strategically making an example of them, don't waste your time with these idiots, man. They're desperate. Look, man, they're on the genetic chopping block of history, man. It's about to be a wrap. And look, I can't feel sorry for you because look what you did my people for so long. And you still don't want to produce justice. But there's going to come a time where they're going to be begging to do that. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's too late for me. I can't speak for all of you, but it's too late for me. I'm indifferent towards them. I really, nope. I mean, look, I don't have no sympathy for you. What happens to you because you spent too long not having any compassion for my people. You don't look, it's one thing for you to feel a certain type of way about adults that have done you something that are black. But when I see you looking at little black children, referring to them as parasites and roaches and things, look, yes, this is how they think. Y'all know I proved that many times. When I see you referring to the best way to kill an N-word is to kill him in his mother's womb, I have no empathy for you. I don't see you as a human being when you can look at my people with such derision and disgust. I look at you as a threat at any time, and I'm going to be prepared to neutralize the threat should the time arise, okay? That's how I see you. So everybody else, you can do what you want. I have no sympathy for these people. Let's let it continue.
Say you have been lied to, or title their videos something along the lines of The Truth About Immigration, or The Real History of Immigration. To defend themselves, they'll often say, I'm just asking questions, or attack you for not being open-minded enough. Overall, they rely heavily on logical fallacies. Here's a video I made about logical fallacies, by the way. So what is that now? 3 videos to watch after this? That's a lot of homework. And finally, great replacement theory promoters often use memes. Seriously. In fact, memes are a big reason why the great replacement theory has spread in recent years. So let's look at some memes and see if you can spot these great replacement theory red flags. Oh yeah, first of all, this is literally a limited frame. The person who put this together wanted you to believe that this photo was of men from Afghanistan fleeing the country to the United States after it fell to the Taliban in the summer of 2021.
I want you to pay close attention to this, family, because you're about to learn a very useful skill that you all here in this chat room can employ when you run across something that looks suspicious and you want to determine the truth for yourselves. He's about to show you something here.
However, and I had to do a lot of digging to find this out, this photo is actually a group of immigrants returning to Afghanistan from Turkey in 2018. What helped me researching it is doing a reverse image search of the photo, and I suggest you do the same whenever you come across any photo that gets you fired up. So the first red flag is the picture. Next, of course, there's the red flag of calling accepting refugees into a country an invasion. 2 red flags right off the bat with this one. One, again, is that word, invading. And second is the shocking image to dehumanize. This also hits at talking point number 3. Diversity is conflict. This picture was circulated claiming to be a picture of refugees fighting with police in Germany in 2015 at the height of the refugee crisis. It was used to manipulate people into being afraid of refugees. Well, the picture was actually taken in 2012 and had nothing to do with the refugee crisis. There's the IQ red flag, of course, and then they just show a picture of supposedly French black people, although I couldn't find where this picture originated from, and so who knows where these people are actually from. And they're not even really trying that hard anymore. They're just showing a picture of black people next to unsubstantiated text. Folks can't even stand peacefully without these manipulators looking for a way to weaponize their image. Hey, I can do that too, see? I could write literally anything. It doesn't make it true. And while that link at the bottom goes to a real study, it has nothing to do with rising immigration in France. But how many people would actually click on it to look at that study? Probably not many, okay? This also hits.
Now, I'm glad that he exposed that, and all the white supremacists hate his guts for that. Oh, you better believe it, because see, it's one thing when we show you their tactics, but this is their own people telling you. And what do we always tell you about warfare over here? Warfare is deception, and they are masters of deception. You understand? Okay, so those are some methods that you can use to verify certain things, okay, as far as certain images. But I want to bring this point up, though, family. He was talking about how they use the term invasion. Now, look, with the numbers that's coming over here, that's actually accurate at this point. Before this point, okay, it would be considered foolish because the numbers were not as high. But when you got thousands of people coming across the border, yes, that's a damn invasion. We got to call that what it is. So I will concede that point. Oh, they're right on that now. Anyways, let's let it continue.
To talking point number 1, biology is destiny. This fits the formula of giving the uncomfortable truth that is a threat to the elites, or in this case, they. Who are they, by the way? I've always wanted to know who they were. Anyway, this also hits talking point number 1, biology is destiny, talking about, quote, third worlders, and talking point number 4, whites are being exploited. Oof. This one is especially horrendous. Talking point number 4, whites are being exploited. Talking point number 6, the Jews are to blame. And a bunch of stuff about IQ and marks. And there's the giving of the uncomfortable truth that is a threat to the elites. So here is a picture of the mayor of the London borough of Camden. She is the first black mayor of Camden, and no, is not a supremacist of any kind. What I particularly found fascinating about this one is that the meme implies she needs to be deported back home. Well, I guess deport her to Camden then, since she's lived there her whole life? There are many.
Now, I want to take this time to point out something else to you as well, because see, you have to understand that all history is a current event. And that is a quote that the great Dr. John Henry Clark has said many times. You saw how in that picture there, they were using the propaganda talking about non-whites or supremacists, all non-whites or supremacists, basically trying to say, basically that's the version of black people are the real racists. Oh, okay. That's a tactic that was, incorporated from the German propaganda master, Joseph Goebbels, okay? In other words, he said, accuse your enemy of that which you are guilty of. I'll say it again. Accuse your enemy of that which you are guilty of. How many times have we heard them use the term reverse racism, you're the real racist, black supremacists? I'm like, okay, supreme means no higher than. There cannot be two supreme systems on the planet at the same time. And if you're going to try to make that asinine argument, then show me anywhere on the planet where black people have the power to control, dominate, and oppress white people's lives in particular based off the color of their skin. Think about it. As large as the continent of Africa is, 54 nations. Can they put sanctions on Europe and America? Huh? Can they deprive them of anything the way they have economic sanctions on Zimbabwe and way they had them on Haiti? Can they do that? See, when you hear that stupid black supremacy term, just be like, okay, prove it. Because we can prove where white supremacy exists globally. We can do that, okay? And I know most of you in this chat room, y'all understand how stupid that is. We have to keep in mind the younger ones that are over here that don't quite know how to deal with those talking points. We have to arm them with the proper knowledge so that they do so on a very high intellectual level and keep it simple at that, okay? So those are a couple of things you need to know and how to deal with that foolishness when you hear it. Let's let them get back to it.
Many more examples I found online, but at this point, I'm just getting worn out by all the fear and hate. So let's just wrap this up. The bottom line is the Great Replacement Theory is still a big movement because its proponents have done well to play on the natural fears people have of economic and social instability and just change in general. In case you haven't noticed, things haven't been all peachy for the majority of us lately. The world has plenty of problems. Often, it's easier for us to just place blame on certain groups, and groups that are less like us are easy targets. So what can you do in response to Great Replacement Theory manipulation? Number 1, probe the point. Does the content use one of these common talking points that are not backed by evidence? Number 2, fish for flags. Are there any red flags present? Like regular mentions of IQ, use of words like invasion and shocking images? Number 3,
hold it. He forgot one of the greatest red flags, and I would be remiss if I didn't throw this in here. And I've said it many times, if those thin pink pale lips are moving, chances are they are lying, okay? That's the other flag that he, of course, would not mention. Just want to make sure I put that in there. Just remember, if those little pink, thin, earthworm-like lips are moving, chances are they're lying, okay? The only thing would be missing would be a forked tongue coming out their damn mouth while they're talking, okay? So yeah, remember that red flag as well. Let's let it continue.
Resist the rhetoric is their use of a rhetorical strategy like limited framing, reference to a mysterious elitist majority they, or use of logical fallacies. And number 4, mind the meme. Remember that memes are easy to share but difficult to fact check. Make sure to reverse image search to understand a picture's true context, and do your own research before you share a meme yourself. These are some small steps you can take to make sure that you don't fall for this messaging, and in general, make society a safer and more peaceful place for all of us. Speaking of all of us, we can't be replaced because humans reproduce. We just make more humans. Let's end this video with a thought experiment. Imagine if you met someone from a foreign country who looked a lot different than you. They had a different religion than you. They liked different foods and music than you. Heck, they didn't even speak your language. But you fell in love with them anyway, and you both got married and had kids and lived happily ever after. Wait, about your future kids. You'd love them too, wouldn't you? They can't replace us because they are us. Don't be fooled. Human differences are really small, so we don't have to fear each other. Instead, let's just get to know each other.
Now, all that in the end and part of what he stated there, that sounds all good, don't it? But unfortunately, sir, the great majority of your people over here in this country do not feel that way. And yes, there are distinct differences between us. First and foremost, for those of us who are foundational Black American freedmen, we coming from a specific lineage, and our people were put through hundreds of years of domestic terrorism, which is still going on, okay? From chattel slavery to Jim Crow, and right on into present day, how we're denied justice, okay? And there has been no reparations or attempt to make that right as of this present broadcast, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing, when it comes to the differences between us and you, we're native to this land. You are not. So anytime they use the talking point, go back to Africa. Oh, well, you need to go back to Europe first because our people are already here, sir, or madams, whichever one that would choose to use the asinine talking point. The other genetic difference that we have, like I said, our genes are dominant over theirs. Then when it comes to actual achievement and accomplishments, we're talking about all that IQ talk. You go and look up all the inventions that foundational Black American freedmen are responsible for in this country. Not only just the inventions, but different medical procedures, okay? Different types of the technology. If we were to take all of that back that we created, at least what we know of, because see, let's be clear, during the days before, we could get patents, they stole a lot from us. But if we would just take back everything that we invented and did go somewhere else, this country will immediately go into a third world status. Oh, yes, it would. Oh, yeah. So we're different there, too. OK, we're different there, too. And of course, I've saved this for last. We don't hold the world record for genocide. So no, we are not the same. People are not just people. Humans are not just human. We are unique from every other group on the planet. Doesn't make us better than anybody, but we are unique and we're proud of our lineage. So no, I'm not going for that. And yes, what he said does happen. Yes, there are people that fall in love from other races. You do. But if you fall in love with anybody from the dominant society, you better be aware of what you're doing, especially here in this country. Okay? Because even if that individual person that you meet does not have white supremacist ideology, they can turn on you just like that. You think I'm wrong? What happened with Jonathan Majors? He got some strong ass legs. Don't they had that boy running all across the city? You never know when you could meet a grace. Okay? For me, as a foundational Black American freedom man, the risk is just not worth it. I'm not playing them games. I know everybody gonna do what you want to do, but you better keep in mind, you could be the next Jonathan Majors running all across the city. And then even when you trying to get away, they go to trial, and then you get convicted of assault and battery when you were trying to get away from the conflict. But hey, you know, some people don't learn. And I mean, you know, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Slocum, Texas. You know, that's just stuff that just happened in history. Stuff burned down because of a white woman's lie and her tears. That don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? To certain bucks of Beddington and you wenches of Craftington, when you jump over there with Zaddy, I mean, listen, I got to go here with it. I've covered the stories over the years. When Zaddy get upset, he gonna do one or two things. If you're fortunate, he'll just leave and pat your pockets like I showed you earlier in the broadcast. But if you're unfortunate, you better look at what he does to his own women when he get upset. Think about it. Whether you go back to the 1929 stock market crash, or you look at present day, and I'm gonna bring his name up, the wrestler Chris Benoit. Okay, I'm just gonna go in here with it. When they get upset, they don't just kill, themselves. They kill their whole families. Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? So now, do you really want to be subjected to that? I'm just saying. You better start looking at the FBI crime statistics. Which they hold the leading record for child molestation and sexual assault. Okay, so I mean, you better know what you're dealing with, sisters, when you jump over there with Zaddy. But I digress. We got to get into some further, information here about the so-called replacement theory and what Tucker Carlson was ranting about at the beginning of the broadcast. I'm gonna let this play, and I want y'all to take notes on this as well.
In May 2022, a domestic terrorist murdered 10 black people at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York.
The alleged shooter wearing full body armor and tactical gear, targeting people of color.
This is an absolute...
I got to stop that right there. It wasn't people of color. It was black people. And see, that's something else coming into this new year of 2024 here. This needs to be not only an era of truth and empowerment. We're going to have to make it ironclad clear that you're not going to refer to us as people of color, BIPOC, or none of that. There's no black and brown. There's no black and anything. If you're not just talking about black, we're not trying to hear it, okay? So especially when it comes to something like this, that's so disrespectful. People of color. It was black people, our people that were targeted. Let it continue.
Racist, hate crime.
They're reviewing a 180-page manifesto reportedly written by the shooter, where he describes his perceptions about the dwindling size of the white population.
The attack was followed by the depressingly familiar round of platitudes about thoughts and prayers, as well as the usual series of arguments and evasions around gun control in America.
The 18-year-old terrorist who stormed into my community armed with an AR-15, killing 10 people and injuring 3 others, received a shotgun from his parents for his 16th birthday.
In rural Colorado, an AR-15 is a gun of choice for killing raccoons before they get to our chickens.
But what's often been missing from the discussion around this shooting is how it neatly fits into a pattern of white supremacist terror attacks directly inspired by the Christchurch mosque massacres of 2019. This is how racist conspiracy theory and emerging tech platforms have combined to create the template for a chilling new form of gamified, live-streamed far-right terror.
And this morning, we're getting an exclusive look at the moment the shooter was arrested and the warning signs that were missed.
Investigators are going to be pouring through multiple online posts that this alleged shooter made.
Before his attack, the Buffalo shooter released a manifesto on Discord, largely
his name was Peyton Gendron,
centered around a conspiracy theory known as the Great Replacement. A fantasist notion that there's a shadowy plot to replace white people in Europe and the US with non-white immigrants.
Forced mass immigration, population replacement, diversity quotas, and lies about white privilege and how only white people can be racist.
Obvious truths about the ongoing program of genocide against my race.
Predictably, the people supposedly running this plot are the Jews.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
The Great Replacement conspiracy theory has been doing the rounds since around 1916, when it was proposed by the American lawyer and eugenicist Madison Grant. It resurfaced in the 1970s with the neo-Nazi David Lane, who was eventually imprisoned and charged with participating in the assassination of a Jewish radio host. But in its modern form, Great Replacement theory was popularized by the French white supremacist Renaud Camus.
Well, I think there is an invasion. I think there is a colonization. Europe is colonized by Africa in a much more deeper way that Europe ever colonized Africa.
Now, I'm pausing it right there because, see, I have to take the time to point something out to those of you who are continental Africans that love to go anywhere except for your homelands. A lot of you are over in France, okay? Now, one could intelligently make the argument that for years that they, occupied the Western Sahel region, a lot of those nations over there, they said, well, hey, we'll just go over here where your nations is. But a lot of you go over there, and unfortunately, especially to the class men, you jump over there, and the first thing you want to get up under is a white woman, okay? And for some of you, to the wenches, you jump over there, you want to find you a zaddy to relay up under. Okay, well, see, this is how their people feel about you. And see, if you think that I'm wrong about that, and you want to say that Renard Camus, okay, that's just him. How does Emmanuel Macron, I'm going there, the president of France, how does Emmanuel Macron think about black people? Think about the statements that he's made about African people in particular, especially in the Western Sahel region. He thinks he's entitled to be there. Remember, he told, the brother Ibrahim Traore, they were not going to withdraw their troops. And he was like, oh, yeah, we'll see about that, playboy. He cut the lights and the power to that embassy over there, and they refused to let any food over there. Like, okay, you going to stay here till you starve? Because you're not going to get no aid and no power from us. And what did they have to do? See, that's how you take control of your situation when you got the numbers. He handled that shit like a boss. That's why I respect him, and I wish him much success with every endeavor that he's doing over there on the continent to try to free his people from that foolishness. He demanded that all that tribal BS be put to the side, and he got his people unified so that they can make their nation what they want it to be. And that's exactly the way it should be, okay? More African nations need to back that brother and follow suit. But I'm making the point that a lot of you that go to these different places, because in the city of Guangzhou in China, it's known as Chocolate City. Yes, they call it that because there's so many Africans there. Remember when the pandemic broke out, they were blaming Africans in Guangzhou for the the beer virus. Okay, they were blaming them for that. All right, remember that? That's what they was doing. Then in Ukraine, when the war broke out, I've showed you footage over here of how they started mistreating the Africans that were there. So my point is this. When you go into these different places, I understand trying to go somewhere to get an economic foothold to do what you need to do. I don't have no problem with that. But what I am saying, you better know something about where you're going to. Know where you're going to land before you jump, like a lot of our grandparents used to say. Just let it continue.
If you look at the kind of surge in popularity of Great Replacement theory, it's really in the 2010s, and it's really, really important to localize that to fringe internet culture where these same ideas can gather speed, gather velocity, and gather popularity, and then spread from there to more mainstream spaces.
In 2011, these ideas fueled one of the world's deadliest ever white supremacist terror attacks.
3:26 p.m., a massive car bomb shatters downtown Oslo. The target, the Prime Minister's office. But this horror is only beginning.
When a far-right extremist named Anders Behring Breivik murdered 77 people in Norway, the vast majority of them children at a summer camp.
A television helicopter caught the gunman in the act. Bodies laying all around him, children in the water, their hands in the air.
Has said he wanted to start a revolution. The man who confessed to the horrific massacre.
Breivik, who was obsessed with the idea that white Europeans were being replaced, intended for the attack to inspire other right-wing extremists to rise up and follow in his path.
Hours before his murderous rampage, he posted this disturbing video and 1,500-page manifesto online, calling on European right-wingers to embrace martyrdom.
These were attacks on the children of a liberal political party in Norway, as well as a bombing in Oslo. These were attacks not on immigrants, these were not attacks on refugees. He wanted to strike out at what he viewed as the people related to this political power that he felt was responsible for destroying Norway.
But Breivik's actions didn't have the effect he wanted. Even for hardcore neo-Nazis, the mass murder of school children, most of them white, wasn't something they could get behind.
This terrorist attack was not.
Now, here's the reason why they didn't get behind that, because if you're familiar with the 14 words of white supremacy, it clearly states in it to build a future or secure a future for white children, because the children in the race are the future. So that's what turned them off when he started killing little white babies that they're going to need. How you going to have an ethno state with no children? Huh? Okay. So that's where he screwed up at. But see, I'll posit to you this. Let's go back over here to the American shores for a minute. You claim that you're so concerned about your numbers declining, but who are most of these little white mass shooters targeting? They shoot little white kids. You have the little punks, and I'm going to call them what they are because they're cowards. Okay, the little punks, like what's his name? Elliot, Roger, and the rest of them, they whine and complain to little incel asses because the white girls, let's just call it what it is. The white girls are choosing up on the brothers and they don't like that. Okay, so now you throw a fit, and the next thing you want to do with your little mouth breathing ass is go get a gun and come back to school and take that out on other people. Never you going to sit down and try to say, okay, I'm a scrawny little runt. Maybe I need to physically improve myself and work out and exercise. Maybe I need to improve my social skills. Maybe I actually need to take a bath, okay, and get myself groomed. And just maybe you'll have a better chance with Becky over there, because I don't know what Becky's into. Well, I do know what Becky's into, but I'm not into her, okay? So we know what they're into. But as far as white men is what I'm saying, I don't know what Becky likes in white men. I can't speak to that. Whatever that is, you need to figure that out and step your game up, okay? But let's keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about competing. Oh yeah, you remember they've been put in a system where they don't have to compete for anything. They don't even think they're supposed to compete amongst one another. So when something doesn't go their way, they throw a tantrum, and now it's everybody else's fault. You understand? It's pathetic, man. But yet these are the high IQ people. But remember now, we're the ones that predisposed to violence. Never mind what I just said. So I'm just, what do I know? I'm just saying things. Let's get back to it.
Something that was widely adopted by the European far right.
But one man would eventually follow Breivik's lead.
Police in New Zealand are urging people to stay off the streets and to avoid mosques in the coming hours.
41 killed in one location alone, 7 at another mosque, and 1 person dying in hospital.
The man who is claiming responsibility and charged with murder is an extreme right-wing white supremacist.
Nearly 9 years later, an Australian white supremacist named Brenton Tarrant carried out a devastating Islamophobic terror attack, murdering 51 worshippers at 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand.
You know, the blood is spitting on me, splashing on me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's going to happen to me now. But fortunately, I'm alive.
Tarrant explicitly modeled himself on Breivik, citing him in his manifesto as his true inspiration, and sharing his delusional self-image of being a kind of medieval knight fighting to defend European civilization.
Police recovered automatic weapons. In a horrifying twist, they say the man streamed his massacre live from a body camera and left a long anti-immigrant document.
He live streamed his attack. He turned it into this very horrific visual event. His manifesto was spread in a specific way online where he referenced memes, where he referenced sort of the internet culture he was a part of and came out of. The key difference here is that in 2019, the attack was really made for an internet audience. And that audience was there and receptive to spreading this message in a way that it was not in 2011.
By taking and innovating on Breivik's MO, Tarrant achieved what the Norwegian terrorist had tried and failed to do: to actually inspire a wave of angry young racists to follow him in committing acts of mass murder. Firstly, he chose a different target, singling out the Muslim community that was the object of his hatred, and whose murder was more likely to arouse the race war fantasies of the extremists he wanted to inspire. This was the first time that a terrorist attack had been live streamed in action, creating a devastatingly effective new form of propaganda.
Now, you can't find a single person who's tried to do an act of right-wing inspired terrorism who hasn't been influenced or doesn't reference Tarrant. It's all Christchurch copycats all the time.
This video shows suspect John Ernest going into the synagogue in April, shooting a woman.
Just 1 month after the Christchurch shooting, a gunman killed 1 person and injured 2 others at a synagogue in Poway, California.
Shooting around 11:30 this morning at Chabad of Poway. It's believed there was just 1 gunman involved. He walked in with a rifle.
He cited Tarrant as an inspiration in a letter posted to 8chan. Then in August 2019, 5 months after Christchurch, shooters in El Paso, Texas and at a mosque in Bærum, Norway, also carried out attacks after posting online that they were directly inspired by Tarrant.
Investigators say the suspect expressed right-wing and anti-immigrant views online and was inspired by another notorious mosque attack.
On far-right forums, both Breivik and Tarrant have become memes, sometimes pictured as warrior saints or as chads, borrowing imagery from men's rights message boards.
Now, see, I got to stop and go ahead and break something down about what he just showed you there, because, see, this is how they often portray history. They fabricate a lot of history. This is why they get so upset if there's black characters in something, even if it's fictional. Okay, but especially something like Game of Thrones, what have you. This is why they get upset if you add a black character to Star Wars or whatever. They have to create these fictional heroic versions of themselves. Okay, when in truth, when you look at what he's talking about here, these white supremacist mass murderers, you're cowards. So you depict yourself as a hero, but you committed a cowardly act. Let me tell you something. There's no courage in ambushing some damn body. Huh? How you going to equate yourself? See, we take that personal. How you going to equate yourself on the level of a warrior when you sneaking up on unsuspecting targets? No, a warrior takes on his target head on. Okay? A warrior doesn't have to ambush and sneak up on some damn body. No, they're the furthest thing from warriors. You're cowards. That's what you are. But see, that goes to show you how their mindset works, okay? In history, they have to fabricate themselves as heroes, because when you just look at the truth of it, most of the history that regards to them, they are villains. We just got to call it what it is. Yeah, let's go there with it. I'm going to let him continue.
Live streams of far-right shootings attract a string of sarcastic inside jokes and shitposting.
50 is a great score, Brenton.
I love you, Brenton. Congratulations, Brenton, on 50 insane kills.
With desensitized.
You see that, how they had them kids up there celebrating that damn white supremacist terrorist murderer? You see what I'm saying? See, our children don't have that sick, demented mindset. They don't. You don't hear little black children praising people who murder people like that. They have to be taught to do that if you find any doing it. But to sit up there and praise somebody that committed a massacre of men, women, and children, really? See, this is why we keep telling you, this is learned behavior. They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't hear that in most of their families. And I've showed you all on plenty of my platforms how from that very young age, they are taught anti-black racism. Because like Neely Fuller Jr. says, if they don't understand the rules of racism and white supremacy, by the time they hit age 15, they get in trouble in white society. They get punished for it. Get back to it.
Commenters talking about a shooter's kill count in real time, as if they were watching a computer game, rather than an act of mass murder.
If you go onto somewhere like 4chan or 8chan or one of the other kinds of image boards where a lot of neo-Nazis hang out, you'll find them saying to would-be terrorists, get the high score. And in fact, they'll create little scoreboards of mass killers.
Despite the devastating toll of racist conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement, versions of them are seeping into today's polarized political mainstream, being voiced by Republican politicians and popular TV pundits.
The left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement.
They can't win re-election in 2022 unless they bring in a large number of new voters to replace the voters that are already here. That's what this is about. We have an invasion in this country.
From Christchurch to Buffalo, these sort of shootings present a new form of white supremacist terrorist threat, a uniquely contemporary mix of conspiracist fantasy, nihilistic online shitposting, and depersonalized mass violence.
When people are being told that their political power, their economic power is being taken away from them by people who are actively trying to disempower them, it's a message that really resonates with a lot of people.
It's decentralized terrorism without a formal group or command and control structure. They're often called lone wolf attacks, but
now, notice what he just said. It's decentralized terrorism, and it's often called lone wolf attacks. You even hear that in law enforcement. Oh, it was just a lone wolf. Hadn't done an investigation or anything to see if there was part of a terrorist cell, which a lot of them are, like Operation Werewolf. Yeah, we looking at you, okay? They immediately classify them as a lone wolf. You understand? You see that tactic, okay? You see that tactic. And then a lot of times, if you actually get those of us on the grassroots that put two and two together and start looking at things, we're like, oh no, this person wasn't by themselves. They had plenty of help. Look, let me tell you something. Let's get straight to brass tacks. When you're talking about these types of mass murders and all this shooting, bullets cost money. Bullets cost money. Where they getting all that from? You look at Stephen Paddock, okay? Remember that? The Las Vegas shooter? While what was his name there? Because see, look, he's become a footnote in history already. You know, little buddy. I try to add in a small town. Yeah, Jason Aldean. Look, that happened at a concert that he was performing at, by the way. I don't know if a lot of y'all remember that. Yeah, you should have been worried about Stephen Paddock, not black folks. Gonna try that in a small town. Yeah, you better sit your ass down somewhere. But my point is this. All of that costs money. If you think that these young teenagers have that kind of money to have, all that ammunition, somebody's helping them with that. Look at Peyton Gendron. He was in contact with a federal agent. They never released the name of that agent, by the way. They just got quiet about that all of a sudden. See, I'm telling you now, family, we're in times where we can't afford to be running around in the damn 13th grade. These people are not playing with us. So you better not be playing games out here. Let's get back to it.
This isn't really accurate. They emerge from a distinct online ecosystem and follow a clear pattern, paying homage to the terrorists who came before them and urging others to follow in their wake.
We can't think of these people as lone wolves or lone actors. We have to think of them as self-initiated terrorists. So someone who went out and decided to do something off the back of the ideology they've imbibed. They act as one node in a network, but you have to understand that there's a huge number of people behind them, behind screens, who are supporting them, endorsing them, egging them on.
It's impossible to say where or when the next of these attacks might occur, but sadly, what's certain is that Buffalo won't be the last.
And he's absolutely right about that. And with that information being, on your minds, now that you've stayed and reviewed this broadcast to this point, it's up to us to make sure that we do what we need to do to protect ourselves. See, their thought processes and their mindsets that I've showed you here tonight, you see what often comes with that, okay? And you see it's the political left and the political right. So I'm going to give you a bit of homework since everybody loves entertainment, right? Everybody loves entertainment. A lot of you probably already seen it, but I'm going to tell you, go back and watch this again. I want you to go back and watch the movie The First Purge, okay? Go back and watch that movie, The First Purge. Now, the reason that I'm telling you to go back and watch that movie is I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I want you to go back and watch that movie, refresh your memory. And I want you to see if you can point out which group of black people were the most vulnerable during that purge, okay? Then during that movie, The First Purge. I want you to go watch that. Some of you already know, because see, once you identify that group of black people, you better make sure that's not you out here in these days and times that we're dealing with, okay? So I brought this information to you so you can use it. And make sure that you educate yourselves about the things that we face today and the mindset of our enemies and their coded messages. And understand that it's not just one party or the other, it's both. The only thing they disagree on is how to implement and maintain white supremacy. It's our job to make sure that we counter that and keep ourselves on code and protected with black empowerment. So with that said, thank you to everybody that contributed to the broadcast. Thank you to everybody that joined and tuned in over here where you listen to live or recorded. And I want you to take care of yourselves. Make sure that you're doing what you need to do for your families and your community. And let's have a fully empowered year in 2024 and going forward. Black first, salute, and I will see you all in future content.
This is the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, and we still have a lot of discrepancies as far as the origins of hip-hop, a lot of claims, who did what, who was the first this, who was the this and that, and such and such. But at the end of the day, we need a definitive story, all right? And that story can only be told by the founders of this culture.
Like everything was being driven and influenced by young, black, American culture, like the slang, the style of dress, the initial music that we chose.
You look at all the boroughs, you got, Money Making Manhattan and Money Earning Mount Vernon and Crooklyn. The Bronx was the boogie down Bronx. We was partying up there.
I am Coke LaRock, the first MC of hip hop. First cat to pick the mic up.
I introduced rapping to the turntable because when I came with it,
Nobody in the world was doing it. I'm right after Rudy Ray Moore.
They want to come in the mix. They want to say, we started. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. What came to be known as hip hop was solely an African-American creation.
What would you get out of some Jamaican toast? What is that? I've never heard of a rapper use a Jamaican toast or a Jamaican fleur as a rhyme. I'd never heard of it, and I don't know where that myth came from.
My name is legendary King Trixie from the Bronx, BX from the West Side. I am the first break dancer.
That narrative that hip hop has had 3 founding fathers, that's been rolling for the last almost 30 years, which isn't true. You don't have just 3 people who created hip hop. Hip hop was created by a number of different people.
I am the grandfather, the godfather of the graffiti culture. I am the first element of hip hop.
The roots of hip hop being Jamaican, absolutely false.
My name is MC Sha-Rock. I am a founding member of the MC/rap culture.
Cassette tapes was the internet of our time. It just traveled around by hand.
I know for a fact that the B-boy stand started from the guards, the 5%ers that would be at the jams back in the days who were acting as security.
If they get the real truth of how it all was created, then so many lies would not be able to be in existence.
So when we talk about hip hop and what it is, it's an extension of the music and the instrumentation that our forefathers created.
Check out the live stream premiere of the documentary short, It's Bigger Than Hip Hop, The Black American Family Tree, and Q&A, a fundraiser to create a series detailing music's evolution. Go to DewanB.com for streaming passes and crowdfunding.